Flimo's talking Resident Evil 6 again. Says it's underrated, says we're all blind while he's chewing pineapple like it's medicine. Hooke shakes his head, says here we go. Leyoric laughs, but the warnings grow. Somewhere deep inside a cursed campaign, the undead rise and call our names. A doorway opens in the glow of a loading screen we used to know. One wrong click and we're pulled inside. Now there's nowhere left to hide. We're running through the fire, through the city of the dead. Every shadow getting closer, every siren in our heads. Hooke and Leyoric standing side by side against the nightmare. Resident Evil 6, Flimo's favorite game. Zombies with a shotgun. The streets are burning under crimson skies. Mutations crawling from the dark. We hear a voice from somewhere far behind. Guys, Leon's campaign is a work of art. Now the pineapple hits the floor as a giant B.O.W. breaks through the door. The whole world's ending, we're under attack, and Flimo's is still giving gameplay facts. The chaos spreads from block to block. The countdown races on the clock. We never asked to take this ride, but now we're trapped inside. We're running through the fire, through the city of the dead. Every shadow getting closer, every siren in our heads. Hooke and Leyoric standing side by side against the nightmare we can't outrun. For every time Flimo said Resi 6 is fun, now we're fighting zombies with a shotgun. No more debates, no more reviews, no more rankings of the crews. The world's collapsing all around, but Flimo's keeps defending it loud. Pineapple King of the apocalypse, preaching Harry 6 through clenched lips.
What is happening, folks? Thank you very much, everybody, for checking in. Look at you go. This song is going to get stuck in my head. I know. But it's only for this game. It's only for this game. My parallels 899999999. Sorry, just checking.
I'm
I'm late. I'm sorry.
I
Ready,
don't
you're
have
never
the
late.
brains.
Everybody is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. We are going to start an epic journey on Flimash's most favourite game of all time, Resident Evil 6. Some would have heard him say the greatest game of all time. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. The reason I've started so late tonight is Hooke's fault. So last night was too warm for the wee man. So he, by the way, you're about have to play a solo part before you can do co-op. What the fuck are you talking about, Flimish? Stop drinking. Had to watch ads because I have no sub or turbo roll on next month for my first payday. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So Hooke didn't want to stream last night because it was too warm for him in his wee room. And Flimish actually needs to fuck up, fed up hearing about the glory of Resident Evil. Oh, I have a great new button. Wait to see this here. Wait to see here. It's a great wee button. Wait to see what happens. Wait to see what happens. If you're in my chat, look. Times out Flimish for 500 for 500,000 seconds. Reason being, for being himself. It's beautiful. It's my new favorite button. If he now annoys me at any point in time, I can just time him out as a on a whim. On a whim. Whim. It's brilliant. It's my new favorite thing. It is beautiful. It is phenomenal. So Hooke, it was too warm for him last night, so he cancelled stream. And so he took over my Wednesday. And personally, I think it's because he hates Resident Evil 2 speedruns, but he denies it. And he can't start anytime earlier than 8:30, so now he's wrecked both my start times and my nights. But thank you very much, folks, for coming on. I am excited to try Resident Evil 6. I'm excited. It looks good. It looks fun. It looks like the greatest of all Resident Evil games. And I can see why Flemish is so happy with it and why he loves it so much. But yeah, no, I had a good wee day today. It wasn't as warm today, which was nice. It wasn't as hot. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Tomorrow's supposed to be quite warm, and then Friday is set to be quite thundery and rainy. So he's ready now. I'm gonna go to my screen. Oh, you ready now, ye?
I was ready 20 seconds ago. You didn't see it the first time. You were too busy chinwagging. What's this? A Hooke stream?
Hold on a minute. My start times on a Wednesday night for my Resident Evil 2 speedruns is 8 o'clock, not half it. Not half it. Just because you hate my Resident Evil 2 speedruns doesn't mean you have to start dictating times to me.
No,
Right.
I
Ready?
was right.
Ready?
Right. I was right last night. They postponed. You also had a postpone. You're leaving that wee nugget out. But it was my idea.
Did it? It seemed like you're the one that
Yes,
cancelled
you
stream.
did.
No.
It was my idea. But then you were like, actually, that works out for me too.
Child negligence is not an issue for me. I'm fine with it.
However, I was right. It's only 22 degrees in this wee room tonight. It was 30 last night. I was
My
right.
room was nice and cool.
We're going
Fuck you.
streaking
That's 'cause
through
you're
the quad
a jerk.
and into the
Right.
Stop it. I
gymnasium.
hate when my
Come on,
daddies
everybody.
cry.
It's to be 26 tomorrow. It is.
26 tomorrow. Be lovely. Be lovely. Be
Mm.
nice. Go outside and we get some rays.
Well, it was 24 yesterday, wasn't it? So, like, it's not that far off, I suppose.
I was watching Noddy there and he made something you would like. It's a now playing widget. It's not tied to any program. Uses Windows protocols and Windows and Video and VLC. YouTube website. Sure it worked.
Ooh.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Who could actually use it because you had problems with your
Aye,
music
I
widget,
could
didn't
really
you?
use that actually, because
Yeah.
like I had to switch to this YouTube one, and the Spotify one I had originally didn't work, and then it was a whole fucking faff. So it was children stop fighting.
I might forego tomorrow because at the moment, fuck that. No, I've read it. Be grand.
It depends.
It's cooler when you stream as well because of all the fans.
I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah.
You know what you signed up for. You know what you signed up for.
There's a chance I'll hit 30 if it doesn't bury me. Children stop.
30.
Oh.
That's mental. Absolutely mental.
I ordered myself new sunglasses just for this weather, and they arrived in time. Nope, that's not.
Yes, Richard, you have been scaring me, by the way. Bullshit.
Tomorrow's the hottest day of the week.
Oh.
I'll still be streaming tomorrow night, and I'll be streaming at 8 o'clock as well. None of this half-8 bullshit.
Your house is nice and cold. That's why.
That's because
this
I'm
wee
cool.
room here is a sweatbox.
That's because I'm cool.
They actually are pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
They actually are pretty good.
The prescription as well, which is nice.
Hey, I didn't know you need. Oh no.
7 minutes.
I didn't know you needed glasses.
7 minutes is all I can spare to
I haven't seen you wear glasses in a long time. I haven't seen you wear them in like a really long time.
I always wear glasses. All my emotes have me with glasses.
But you don't wear them on stream or anything.
I do.
No, you don't.
Not all the time, but quite often I do. If I have to play something where I have to read it, will I? 7 minutes.
Working 11 to 7 tomorrow. Oh, that's rough.
Any of us going to the Full Maritime Festival? I was down yesterday when they were setting it all up, but I probably won't be.
When is it? Just this weekend?
I think so, yeah.
I forgot about it, to tell you the truth. We probably will call down, though.
It's the condition of the place whenever you go down that worries me. It be in some ship. Way Specky. I can say that because I am too.
Specky. Working 11 to 7 tomorrow. Oh. You have been scaring me, Richard. You have consistently got me with the jump scares recently. You timed it perfectly to the point I put on these, and then it goes off.
What was that text you sent me earlier on that you mute all of your redeems and you just pretend to be scared whenever just for entertainment value? You go, ooh.
Yep. I just see it pop up now. Ooh.
It's like when a Wayne,
Can't all be
like
fancy.
it's like when a
Get
toddler
an ear
clearly
issue.
you can clearly see them, but they jump out and they go boo, and you're like, oh,
Aye, my son does it all the time. I
Yep.
scared you. Yeah, you did.
Actually, to be fair, my two scare me quite often. They come up to me, well, Daddy, can I have money? And I'm like, Jesus, money
I'm
again.
not looking forward to that. Not looking forward to that.
My son
You're
messaged
off
me
Friday.
today,
Nice.
and he said, "Daddy, can you give me £20? Me and my mate are going to go play the driving range and play golf." And I was like, happy days.
Aye,
Then he landed
good
home
outside.
about half an hour ago. He said, "Did you make dinner?" And I was like, "No, well, no one was here, so I didn't make any dinner." He said, "Well, you give me money for pizza." Go make your own food. You're 15.
They're quick, eh?
They are. Not as if I could just throw money around. I have PC parts coming tomorrow.
Took a word right out of my mouth.
Or I'd have to spend it in me. That's grand. Not going.
He's
Not
got
going
some
to.
upgrades, Flemish.
Not
Have
going
you
to eat
told
us.
Flemish yet what you've upgraded to?
No, because he'd probably just biff about his pre-built.
It's pre-built. I know exactly.
PC parts. And this account.
Oh, he changed the name. He changed the name.
Oh, here we go. Midway through chat as well. Look at that. Look at
I
that.
know. That's brave latency.
None of our walk-ons are going to work from now.
That's true. He
Yep,
doesn't have
but
one on my stream, so that's okay.
He did it selfishly, so now we have to fix everything.
Yep. Such a jerk. Shoutouts won't work either.
No.
Selfish.
No, nothing.
He's got a point though. PC parts in this economy. He must
Well,
be fucking
it's pretty much
rolling
everything
on it.
it's everything apart from RAM.
Aye, well, aye.
I was like,
RAM and storage is mental though.
I could go DDR5, or I could get a mortgage. It's one of the two.
Aye, it's fucking. I looked. I bought a terabyte SSD for like 75 quid a year and a half ago. It's like 200 quid now.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be me.
Mental.
It'd be me going to Halifax or Nationwide and saying, "Listen, I need to see about getting a mortgage for like 100 or for 200,000. Whatever. I just need 16 gig of RAM for my PC. So yeah, I need some
ridiculous,
DDR5.
man.
Is that a postcode? No.
You're selfish. You're all right. I like the name. I like it. Cloudbus is your tag on most things, isn't it? From what I remember.
I remember you saying this about you were tempted. I didn't think you were going to do it mid one of our streams, but fair play.
Yeah, fair play is right.
I could still do shoutouts because I
Irishman's
do it
power
for my
level.
stream deck.
So nobody's evolved yet on my stream. Are you watching my stream, Leyoric?
I am on it. I've already done the power thing.
I watch mine the way I do it.
That's a wild flex, isn't it? Come over and watch.
Look at
Oh, very good. That's very good.
I'm not even top level. That's
Why-
the thing.
why-
There's
why-
like 7
why-
levels.
Why do you look like Sonic the Hedgehog with all the emeralds? What's that about?
Sonic the Hedgehog? I'll Sonic the Hedgehoggy. Sonic's not blonde, right? What sort of shenanigans is happening here?
I'm going to
Shenanigan?
get rid.
No.
I'm going to get rid of that. Really.
What do you say? Bitch. No.
Treat,
No.
please.
Fucking
I'm not
dog.
going to give you a treat if you call me that.
So the power command
do you
has been a
say?
bit of a douche. Although I noticed because you typed it and it didn't reply in Happy Irishman's just typed it.
Cleo!
Oh, no, it's just a bit of a delayed.
It
On a
did reply
cooldown,
for
that's
me,
what it is.
but I couldn't click on the
On a
check-in.
cooldown.
The check-in was on a cooldown.
Yes. That's true. I
was
might
on
take
like-
the
it was on
check-in
like-
off a cooldown.
You know what I
Honest.
do? I have it where whenever someone like signs into the ledger, it switches it off, and then at the end there's a tiny like 1 second delay, and then switches it back on.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
it just turns it on and off rather than have a delay. So that way, no one's going to overlap each other.
Because I'm trying to prevent the chat being spammed. That was my thinking with it.
Yeah. Do not get rid of the name. It's the
Um,
best one. Yes, but I have been this is the second time I've been talking to Hooke today, and both times my dog has come
Yes.
over to me because I'm talking on the computer. She thinks I'm getting a treat. I was in a meeting earlier,
Yeah.
and she sat staring at me the whole time, thinking, "Where's my treat?"
Double check. I'm going to check what cooldown I have on that command as well.
It looks like
Oh.
the hair when you went to the formal. Seen that picture?
It does. Fuck you, McKenzie.
So he's completed Resi 5 on the 6th night. Chris, yes, on the Resident Evil 6. Flamash's
We did.
favorite of the games.
Yeah, but I seen Flemish mentioned there's a prologue we have to play. Solo?
Before we can To co-op?
before we can co-op.
No? What? What? What?
He literally typed it in your chat a while ago. You see, he says yes.
But then I banned him and deleted all his messages.
Did he? What's the crack?
Daddy, what's happening? Get new graphics cards for my birth. What graphics cards you get?
Have you heard of the critically
PC
acclaimed
talk? This is PC talk.
MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV?
That must
With an
have-
extended free trial, which you can play through the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the
Wait, I wonder if I
award-winning
check in,
Heavens
won't remember.
Ward.
Nah.
Stormblood and Shadowbringers
It doesn't go off your user ID, it just
expansions
uses
up to level 80
username.
for free
I don't have
with
it
no
set to use
restrictions
user
on
ID. That would have been
playtime.
smart.
Yeah.
But I'll fix it retrospectively for you. No problem.
Just looking at your handsome face, by zero cash tech.
Go ho ho. Nice. I think that's name changed everywhere. I managed to change my name everywhere before the lads even started the game. Madness. The smack talk. You both have to do the prologue before you can co-op. Oh, that's bullshit. Feck's sake. Teddy, welcome on. You handsome devil. Good to see you.
Thank you for signing in the ledger, Teddy. Level 18 ninja.
Latency, did you check in? Or sorry, not latency. Cloudbus. Calling me the wrong name. Have you checked in? I'll just call you Cloud.
Well, how long's the prologue? I think we should just keep on chatting and just do the prologue.
Your camera's froze for me.
Yours is stuttering for me.
Yeah, maybe it's stream together that's been a dick.
Could be.
My stream stats are fine. I'm not dropping any frames or anything.
Mine's
You're back
0%
now, look.
drop frames as well, yeah.
Must be stream together. It's having an issue. And I guy, what is happening in Legends? Good to see you. Kent as Cloudbus because I've been on the stream already. Right, okay.
Right, so
I know what you mean.
20 minutes
Same
top
here.
for the prologue. We'll race and see who can get through first.
Right then. Let's have a look. So if I tab into the game, the volume should play.
Yeah, I'm starting it up now as well.
Oh, need to set it up. Scene. I forgot.
Grant, yourself,
Okay.
how are you managing this heat? NIG, what is the story? What is happening? We are doing great. We are doing great. We are cool. Although I've just finished my iced coffee, so
Well, I'm drinking a cup of tea.
I'm tempted by a bit of Bailey's for it.
Oh. Right, folks, let me know game audio, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
Why does it ask me to do this sentence every time?
What about Bailey's in a shoe? In a shoe! Bailey's coffees are legit. They are.
Jesus.
They're nice.
That scared the shit out of me, Rafik. What is happening? I do have a mug, Rafik. Look at it. It's not a dad bod, it's a father figure. That's me.
Hey, I told you.
Thought you'd appreciate that. We're doing Leon, yeah.
What run are you doing first, Leon or Helena? This is our first time loading the game. No idea.
Yeah, quite literally. Dad mug, exactly, Ruthie. How are you, by the way? Bailey's coffees are legit. They are. Good evening, Waffles Jr. What's the crack? Welcome on.
Look, I have boobs. I have boobs.
Oh, as always.
Have you
good.
found video of my front room?
See, when I tab out of the game, it's so annoying. The audio mutes. Look, there's some weird annoying sound coming from your mic. Oh, that would be Leyoric.
You dick. You son of a bitch.
Unless you're being serious.
Oh wait, that's your voice.
Wait, that's your voice. Well, funny.
Let's do them in order. Leon,
time you,
Chris,
okay?
Jake, Ada. We're doing well.
I
We're
don't-
doing well. I'm hot.
It's a long game though, isn't it? We'll see if we do the 4 campaigns. I'm not promising anything.
It doesn't, we don't even need to do them in a go. It needs, we could just break it up over the year and stuff. But back in whenever
Well,
we
that's
want.
true, yeah. We definitely could do that.
Oh, you flipped to Leyoric. I am proud. It's so fucking hot. 32. You're over in England. You're getting it bad. Where's your mug?
You're getting it bad, is
My
right.
mug's right here. Hey, one mug.
Akira, what is the crack, sir? Welcome on. It's not too bad for us here. Like it's
Would a grenade count?
22 the day. as you do. Like have a grenade.
It's kind of a mug, isn't it? It's kind of a mug. Bruno Mars would catch us if I threw it at him. The progressively
So,
gets shorter.
can someone-
and
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to make a joke about how you prefer Chris a bit shorter, too.
Of course you were. Can someone check how long to beat, though? How long it is to beat co-op? Because like if it's like 70 hours, we're not doing it all in one sitting, as Leyoric was saying. That's for sure. We're all in one continuous
I'd
sitting.
imagine Mrs. Hooke would make you stay with them to get to sleep again. I'm plodding through. Not played a video game all week, though, which is weird. Is it because of the heat of the PC that's putting you off it?
Probably both. Jesus, this game's dark.
You're not getting off that easy. Come on.
I keep forgetting I'm playing a game here and not watching a cutscene.
I keep forgetting that we're not actually in co-op.
We could just pretend we are. Am I
We could,
Leon?
After all we've been through, it'd be a waste to give up now.
No, I'm Leon.
Are you? Oh.
It's not 70 hours. 20, 30 tops, depending on how you progress. Right, okay.
I'm fucking Leon! Ah!
I'll keep it on.
Rod, what's
Kink
happening?
activated. Rod, welcome on, buddy.
Finally done with antibiotics and making progress. Very good. We're dying. Oh, I would say
Brilliant.
so.
Glad to hear it, Drifty.
Lamash,
hear
you know the crack. Teddy as well. Thank you very much for the butts, folks. Oh, I'm not paying attention. What I'm supposed to do here.
I'm doing quick time events or like button prompts here.
Yeah. Raffy, I'm getting a raid.
You sure are. I just seen a pop up chat there. Welcome
Raffy,
on, Raffy.
thank
Oh,
you very
pause.
much for the raid. Welcome on.
Brains.
Brains.
Oh,
Some pause.
playtime is over.
Right.
How fortunate for you.
What is the crack? How are you getting on? What were you streaming? How was your
Keep
night?
it a bit static.
Thank you very much for coming on with the raid. Quite funny, thank you. I know it's your
Good
club,
man
but I
for
can
the
guess what it is. I can guess what it is from here. But what were you streaming? How did you get on? We're going to jump over because once anybody raids into me, they go into my Hall of Fame. So give me a second.
And hello, I'm also here, but I
Looking
will
for-
just play on.
There you are. You're up above me in the purple. Thank you very much. Oh, a referee raid has entered chat and is working up a storm. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for raiding on. Anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Leyoric. I am a streamer from Northern Ireland. I play a variety of different games, but it tends to be a lot of horror these days. So Silent Hill, Resident Evil. Me and Hooke at the moment. That's the wee tiny fella that's over there, right beside me. We are playing through Resident Evil. We just started Resident Evil 6 co-op,
Tiny.
and it is Flamash's most favorite list of games. So we're
is.
excited about it because he doesn't stop talking about it. Streaming's good. Was playing through Final Fantasy 15 for the first time, having fun. Ooh, I enjoyed 15. I liked it. That opening the 15's solid. This game can get in the bin. This game can get in the bin as in the fun bin. I like it. I like it. Is the little guy your pet? Hooke, can you see my stream?
Okay, you're fit.
Can you see my stream?
I can. I'm tiny in the corner.
You're tiny in the corner.
You dick.
He is. He's my wee pet. Look, have I got streamer buttons
it
straight for you
is.
now? I got as far as trying to vibe code some C# and particularly did not work. What a cute little guy. I know. He's adorable. He's
Ooh.
adorable.
Well, Teddy, you can
I
we'll
hope
definitely
you,
get it working for you.
I'm
Hold on.
assuming you
Go
were so I was assuming you were typing I hope you feed him well, but feel him well is also good. It's also appropriate.
He
The
does.
bargain.
He
Share
does.
with it.
Not on stream.
Oh yes, my bad. No, it's your good. Fair play. Fair play. That's the type of vibe we like around here.
Welcome in, folks. Though. I
But,
don't want to talk over you there, but
Work away. I didn't. Felt good.
I do. His wife doesn't like it though. Don't tell
Takes
her.
a while, man, for the hugs. Hey, did I tell you what happened the other day with her? She called down the stairs to
Her?
me.
Who's her? Your wife?
Try this
The
one.
wife. She called down the stairs to me. She's all,
We're almost through this.
see if someone was stabbing a voodoo doll made in your image, would you feel a sharp pain across your chest? I shouted up, no. And she shouted back, what about now?
I should have seen that coming. Item slots. Oh, I don't know if I like this UI. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, the UI's amazing. The UI's amazing, man. And it changes for every campaign. I haven't got the
Let's
VI
take a
yet.
break.
Resident Evil 6,
There we go.
Flamosh's favorite game.
Only as old as the man feels, I
Gotta
guess.
be a first aid kit in here somewhere.
Here, Liam
Leon!
always has amazing hair. That a bit?
I know all about it. I know all about it.
Oh, shit. I'm ahead of you, I think.
Did you know oils can't mate in the rain? Who wet too? Just to let you
That's
know as
good.
well, a disclaimer that
That's
if you
good.
tell any sort of dad joke in my stream, I take all rights to it and it becomes mine.
I think I just died.
Someone work told me that today. Oh, amazing.
Yep.
It's coated with vibranium. Makes sense.
Yeah, I just died.
So when does Flamos do dad jokes, I'm a bad influence on him.
Makes me sick seeing good soldiers die like this.
Leon's hair's coated with fire. I agree, Rafi.
The PSA
Leyoric,
was
have you
specifically
heard
for...
of multi-which? There's multiple streams on one page, so you can easier see both point of views if you want to compose. Yes, it only counts the view for the first person you pull up, FYI, but I have used it in the past, and I know Rita uses it as well. If I'm watching like some bigger streams, or maybe it doesn't really count when they have thousands, I'll do it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Sorry, you were chatting at the same time there. My bad.
No, it wasn't.
Ah, it sounded like you were gonna.
Leon, are you there?
Leon!
Hunnigan,
Good to hear you're okay. Where's Helena?
Got one eventually just to make sure.
I keep dying at this part.
Oh,
need
thank you,
medical
Teddy.
attention.
Do you have any herbs left?
A few, but I'm not sure they'll help.
I don't know what I have to do.
Okay, listen. Just follow
I've
my
died twice.
instructions.
I haven't even got to the stage where I found an enemy yet.
Doesn't tell me what to do, so I don't know what to do. Oh, you're grand, Teddy. Just letting you know, in case you were pulling up like heaps of streams or something like that. It is pretty cool. Like you can have it like a grid, can't you? From what I remember. Right, where are you at?
I'm
Yeah, you're at the
still...
same part as me now.
Agents have died here today.
Am I?
You're not gonna
Yep,
get
because I've died twice.
I haven't fought anything yet.
Yet.
Ah, right, okay. Ready to get the raid and run?
There we go.
As floods. As food's needed? No problem. Rafi, thank you so much again for the raid. You go enjoy your night.
All the best, Rafi.
And if you're somewhere warm, hopefully it's nice and cool for you. Stores.
Damn it, out of ammo.
Damn it. Died again. I don't know what I have to press. No. I'm on the wrong thing there. Kane Guardian, thank you very much for the follow.
Kane,
Sorry,
welcome,
I
man.
had my OBS.
Met Kane earlier on
Not
today
happening.
in Speds chat.
Oh, nice.
Pops.
I seen
This
Spence
can't be
was live with
multiplayer.
Kazan earlier.
I don't see the two you holding each other like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Mr. Popsicle,
Scooby-Doo
well
doo.
done, buddy. What has happened?
Good to see you, Pops.
Rain and
Once on a
cold.
time. What do I need to do here? What do I need to press? Because it's the third time I've died.
You need to wiggle your left thumbstick when that comes up, and you need to press RB whenever the gets to the very end of it.
Right, okay. Thank you.
I'm getting Pinky and the brain vibes. I'm afraid to ask which one I am. Same thing we do every night.
Which-
Hooke.
which
Try
one
to
am I?
take over the world.
Don't tell the Ark which one he is, but tell me which one I am, sure.
Oh, I'd say I'm Pinky. I'm a dumbass.
Heading to the quad tower.
Zoinks. Or mice and men.
There are BSA agents
Makes
there
me
with
Lenny.
weapons. I can't abandon them.
Tells you on the screens. It does.
Ah, I did it purely. Damn it.
Thanks, Hunnigan.
The don't die button, I think.
I've sent over the
Finally.
field guide to your PDA. You can
Okay.
always refer to that in a pinch.
I don't like quick time events.
The rest of games do enjoy them, don't they?
They do. There we go. Right,
Honorary
finally
turtle
he's
bit
dead after
down.
a fourth attempt.
What the hell?
What the hell?
You got it.
Is it going to let us know what part we can swap over the co-op as well?
That's what I'm curious of as well. Can I tell
I
this
could
whole
tell
stream
this
will
whole
be the
stream.
prologue?
It is.
I think so. You did it. That's the don't die button. Thank you.
When I do a really nice slick through, I call that a prologue.
Tells you on the screen. But the issue I had, McKins, was like earlier in the prologue, whenever that thing came up, it told you what to press along with it, and then it didn't. So that's what threw me off. I didn't know then. I was in a panic. I don't know if that one. Oh, parkour. Keepers.
I'm liking this.
This game is
Just kung fu
much
and
better
shit.
than 5.
I think it's obvious when it happens. I think you're obvious when you happen.
Oh, we still have to do the whole co-op thing on doors, I think, you know. Bet you.
Oh,
Holy moly.
didn't realize this is RE6. Oh yeah, this is Flamash's favorite
At
game.
Backlash?
Backlash.
Backlash.
Epically.
At Backlash. At Backlash.
Oh no, they. Oh,
Backlash.
do you reckon they knew? Do you reckon they knew? Oh, what happened there? It didn't tell me, did it?
At Backlash.
I thought it was in the cutscene.
At
It wasn't the
Backlash.
cutscene. Four bros who door together. Four together. This is true.
Go. Where's that guy? Oh, get out of my way, would you?
Oh, dash. Right, okay.
There we go. Wait. Stop. Oh, there's somebody in front of me. I can't see him. I need to turn the brightness up. Can't see.
Let's go.
Oh, shit.
Oh shit. Right, okay. It keeps fooling me into thinking there's a cutscene whenever it's a quick time event. There's times I'm like, oh, this is looking pretty cool. And then it's like, oh, I should be doing something. Shit.
Is he friendly? Yeah. Sweet. Oh, this is badass.
It's about 50% of this game. Yes. Let's go.
Is that why you love it, Flemish? Oh, I'm calling you Flemish then. Flemish. Speaking in riddles tonight. Oh, I think we've actually synced up here.
Ah, shuts himself away there. I have no bolts. You can actually see from my gun I don't have any bolts. He's still shooting them. Have they tried flying it straight? No! What? They'll never get a job in Ryanair if they do that. That's always training. Just pop it under the office. Fair play.
Like, that's impressive. The fact that Leon didn't shoot Helena there.
I'm
Helena's
very
new in
conscious
this game,
now.
isn't she?
I'm very conscious now that I'm commenting on stuff and maybe you're not at that part yet.
I know. It is weird. Wish we had known this.
Yeah, we could have
looked it up,
finished
to
the
be fair.
prologue first. Did you know Flemish loves this game? Tomahawk? I have never heard that. He never mentions it.
He does?
Never mentions it.
You not hear it? It's his favourite. I've been so excited to play this for that reason because he doesn't stop talking about it.
That is true. That is true. And he has emotes and everything about it. Like Flamash, the Pineapple King.
Ah, and yeah, you're grand.
Oh, sure, I was doing the same. I was commenting on stuff happening on my screen. I was like, I don't know if Hooke's still the same part.
Ah, I don't mind. You're alright. Sprint isn't left stick anymore. I like that.
He doesn't stop talking about this game either. Or at least the logo. He does love the logo. He does.
He does.
Thank you for the giant evil octopus of Blumush, loving Resident Evil 6.
Octopus, what is the crack, dude? Welcome in.
I've got the start now.
Have you? Right, okay. Ah, yeah, I can see it on your screen. Right, okay. I think I'm at the end of this anyway. Folks, if you don't know Octopus, absolute lovely being.
I can't
unsee.
I can't unsee Jeffrey the giraffe from Toys R Us getting a blowjob. Pineapple King!
I can't either now that you pointed it out last week.
Thank you for the
Thanks, Nick.
gigantified emotes, folks.
You have about 15 minutes? Nice. I appreciate you calling on, Rod. Right, I'm done as well, I think.
So I can select the campaign now. So I'm assuming we should be able to just... So if I click the Leon campaign...
And then invite via Steam, like Resi 5 maybe?
I would assume so, yeah.
It's far too hot to be at the PC. I'll pop back when it's a bit cooler, hopefully. Akira, no worries at all, dude. No worries.
Oh man, no worries.
Thank
you go
for coming on, dropping a lurk, dude.
Get some cornetos. Chill out.
Aye. Devs. So, Leon. Normal difficulty.
If I go under, it's taking me the character select, so I'm assuming we have to go back out to the main menu. Join game. If I go to the main menu, let's join a game.
Oh.
So we can set up matches, custom match.
Can you set it up there, can you?
How do we look? See, maybe you have to start the game.
Steam, can I invite you? Might have to be on the game, to be fair.
Gonna stick a Solero up my ass? Yes. Do you remember the wee Solero balls they had? They were nice.
You said that. And like, there's no kink shaming here. No, if it works for you, happy days.
I don't see any harm in that.
So, is join game how we co-op? I wonder. Nah, I doubt it. Custom match, etc. It must be like a multiplayer.
I think you have to start a game and then I just join.
Right, okay. Let's give it a go. So, I'll just do campaign Leon, and then I might be able to invite you. Right, okay.
Yep. And what I'll do is I'll just
normal single screen mode. Leon.
Leon!
Right, let's see. Agent hunt settings, no idea what that means.
An agent hunt. Beaky Ultima, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Appreciate you, buddy. I was sending Beaky Ultima a joke so today.
Friends.
Friends! Resident Evil friends.
I really enjoy
most of the games like Leon. Yeah, and then Vinette. Vinette through the menus. Vinette in the menus. It's like a joke a day, it is. It is. My whole employment's a joke, which I like.
Right, send you an invite there.
Look at us, professionals. We know what we're doing.
So, sweet. Beaky Ultima, what is the crack?
6.
Then it's bus and Pokemon Go time. I let the bus pick off as many 0.1 kilometers as possible. I don't care if the app is trying to get you out to walk. I'm an adult. I can undermine its core principle if I want. Did you see the Pokemon Go? It came out in a court document recently that it was used for military mapping. Do you know how it gets you to go to like random buildings and be like building and oh, there's a Pokemon here. This is a gym, etc.
Yeah.
No, it was the data is literally being used for the military.
Aye, wait now. Wait now.
I can't remember which military, which country, mind you.
It might create more problems. It's time to take responsibility. We want to have any change. I've always valued your friendship, Leon.
Leon.
Your audio got a wee bit choppy there for a wee second.
Did it?
I don't know what was wrong with it.
Any issues in my stream, folks? Anyone that's watching on my tab? That must be rough when it's someone you know and you have to shoot or
Depends
defend
who it
yourself.
is.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
depends who
true.
it is. Grand.
Would you shoot me?
It's all my fault.
And that's
Oh, even before you're infected, just to be sure.
preventative measures.
No breaking quality sound wise. Okay, so I don't know, maybe it's just Discord for me, I don't know. You
Maybe
hear
it
me
is
okay?
Discord fine now. I can
Are
hear you
you ver-
fine now. I think my stream can hear you fine too. No one's complained.
I'll explain everything.
Also, Kane, thank you again for the follow. It was in the middle of all the action there and I didn't thank you properly. Much appreciated. Speds is a good guy.
Yes.
Hunnigan,
Thank God you're both all right.
how do you two know each other?
That's Helena Harper.
Sure I'm not peeking on anything.
You right?
Yeah, I'm just bringing up my stats just to make sure I'm not
He'd
peeking
already
on
been
anything.
infected by the time we found him.
Right, okay.
But every time I tab out, it takes the audio off it. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
That's well annoying.
God help us.
I'm sure there's a Steam parameter I can put on to stop that when the run section
Yeah.
of the game.
You two just focus on getting the hell out of there.
Not like you two will be able to follow the policy. Hey, hold on, we are very smart, man. We are smart, man.
He's got a point, though. We don't pay attention.
Are they remaking Resi 6? I don't think so.
Kennedy's got a lead that
Don't think
might
so.
tell us who's responsible for this.
Leon, is that true?
We need another remake of GTA 5 and 12 more remakes of Last of Us.
Keep your radio on.
Did all of you see the news today about GTA 6? The digital copies
just-
don't have a disc,
Mm,
just a code.
bullshit, huh? I
Yes,
get it because the game's too large for a Blu-ray disc. The games back in the day had more than one disc. I just love physical media. I know it's moving with the times and all that jazz. But still, sad. Not pre-ordering GTA now, just download on the day of release. Oh, I've lost Leyoric here.
Did you actually?
Yeah, on Stream Together. Lost your camera.
Oh, right, okay. Man, I think it's Discord. Can we stop this call and jump back in again?
Ah, of course I.
What the hell's going on?
See if it's like 90 quid. I'm not buying it day one. Unless
I figured it.
I can
I
like
figured out what.
Oh.
I figured out what the problem was.
what was it? What?
The voice chat in the fucking game.
Oh, because you're echoing for me.
Uh,
Fun enough.
you want to send? You want
Right
to send
now?
through your camera?
You're echoing at the minute.
It's because
Hey?
I have to turn my mic off. And do you want to send your camera through? Stream together.
Still am. Maybe I have to stop and start it. Hang on.
Yeah.
Camera off and camera on. Yeah, send it. Let me
It's
restart my
not-
virtual camera here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will not buy
Yeah,
GTA
restart them
6
both.
regardless. I was chatting to Hooke about it, and I was like, someone must have turned on
I'm
the
with you,
light and
Chrissy.
glare. I was all, Barbie Rewind's the only game willing to go up against them. I think we should all buy Barbie Rewind. Just be all like, fair play to you.
I
That is
think
my
you have to
hardest
play it, you know.
passion.
You have to take one for the team.
I think it'd be quite good. I think it'd be quite good.
No longer buying GTA
it's
6 until price drop. I agree with you, lads, to be honest.
It's
really
not
good.
even coming through in the browser, man. Your
I
video?
think I can still hear echo off you. I think.
Do you have you muted your browsers if you're on my stream?
Your stream is muted. Well, the tab is muted, not your stream, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's me ears. Maybe it's playing tricks on me. But no, I agree with GTA 6. I really do agree. Like, if it's like 90 quid, I'm not getting it day one. I'm not doing it. Like, it's mental. That's too expensive for a base game. If that's the base game, like, if it's like 69.99, I might. Because Vice City, GTA Vice City is my favorite GTA. So, like, it's back in Vice City.
Yeah.
So I'd be quite interested, to be honest.
I'm still not getting the stream together video for you, though.
Yeah, see, your camera was coming up fine for me. It's went away now. Did you turn it off? Or?
I just reset it there.
Right, okay, it should come
There,
back.
that bit. Just refresh my source. And
Yeah, that's weird that you're not getting my camera.
I know I'm getting it now on the browser source. I just have to swap it over here.
Oh, right, okay. Got a new profile
just make
pic.
sure
Art is my passion. Ooh. I'm gonna have to check that out,
There.
Bus, and see.
There we go. We're
I
sucking
like
these
Rockstar,
one
but it's
out,
hard to
lad.
justify nearly 100 quid. Ah, yes. Good man yourself. See, the thing I didn't like about the announcement of GTA was like they've announced all this like add-ons and skins stuff. And
Yeah.
it's only single player. Like, it isn't going to be multiplayer at launch. There's no GTA Online at launch.
Aye, but you're still going to sell the DLC for it, aren't you?
Oh, of course I. The zombie DLC. Right, I need to turn the brightness up in this game.
Do you know what I'm glad we don't have anymore now? When me and Hooke worked in game, whenever GTA 5 came out, you had all the wee sort of, like, wee scumbag boys come up with, hey, you've any copies of V? You have GTA V?
Me.
And we were just like, Roman numerals. Learn your Roman numerals, kid. There's optional bullshit to care about. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I seen the announcement. I was like, I'm not going to get any of that. I don't want the gold car or the garage or something. I'll be grand. I'll live without it. If I even pick it up at launch anyway, because it's going to be massive, but everyone's going to be playing it.
I don't know if I'll pick it up at launch. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to get GTA at some stage. It's GTA. I've loved all the other ones. But I don't know. I'm not overly hyped.
Now, Barbie Rewind, that's a
You will
game.
buy the Ultimate Flemish. You will.
That's a unique game.
Aye, but McKenna, the thing
like
is, they're advertising the GTA 6 price in dollars at the minute before tax. So the game's actually going to be more expensive than what they're advertising in the States.
This could really happen.
We can't run here. Okay. Ultimate is $100. See, that's ridiculous, man. Like, don't get me wrong, deluxe editions and all have existed, but even if the base game's 80, that's mental.
Yeah, but you would always done it for a nice cover or maybe a wee figure or like.
Aye, if it came with like a collectible and stuff and all, like I'd be like, aye, alright then, but it's literally just a download code.
Yeah.
With extra downloaded content, and I'm like, no, that's not good enough. Like, compared to what you used to
We're
get back
getting
in the day,
a raid.
like we used to buy limited editions. Are you? Oh, okay.
Timmy, what is happening? Thank you very much for the raid. How did the rest of Dead by Daylight go?
Playtime is over. How fortunate for you.
More sleep, please. Please. Help me, Leyoric. That's the wrong game. No! Leon! DVD Leon is here to help. Happy days. Happy days. I'm not even playing as Leon. I got my Leon wig out and everything, and Hooke wouldn't let me play as Leon. He said, no, I'm playing as Leon because I think I'm cool. And it annoyed me. So me and Hooke are playing co-op Resident Evil 6. But anybody who raids into me goes on my Hall of Fame. Let's jump over. Press the button. Why nothing happened? There we go. We're over now. Here we are. So, anybody that doesn't know me, my name's Leyoric. I am a streamer from Northern Ireland. I play a variety of different games. How is this Leon wig? It's mine. It's my hair. I just cut it off. I just keep it. It's detachable hair. That's what I call it.
That's a bald cap.
Noxcat.
I thought. Is that not what the canon is?
It is. Leon's bald. Underneath all his hair, he's bald. This is true. Sure, Mux.
Sure.
But anybody in my chat's not following Tammy, please give her a follow. She's an absolute legend. Really, really funny. Plays a lot of Souls games, Final Fantasy games, and is playing through Dead by Daylight at the moment. She's learning it. Only been playing it a couple of days. So give Tammy a wee follow as well. But we're playing through the co-op of Resident Evil 6 because Flamash in our chat, it's his favourite game, and he hasn't stopped saying this, lads, you need to play Resident Evil
He's
6.
been
And we
asking
were
us
like,
for
you know
like
what?
6 months to play this. You just need to play it. You
So-
need to play it. He talks about it every day.
Every single day, every day he
Here we are.
messages me saying, Leyoric, you need to play it. I love this game so much. I'll go on chat and pretend I don't love it, but he really does. Did you know that Ada in this game is Ada Schlong, actually?
Schlong.
We haven't met her in this one, but she was very good in 2 and 4.
Is it actually 60 quid, McKinn's, by the way? We were just chatting
Like a football
GTA
man.
6
Oh, right,
raiders
okay.
there. And the cost. $200 complaints after one playthrough says different.
It's not working.
Where are you, by the way? I'm at a door waiting on you to assist me to open it.
Oh, I'm like the professor
Why?
from Harry Potter, Professor Dumbledore.
Help.
You see one of them, aim for the head. It's your best bet.
Got it.
So are we back to actual zombies now and not Las Plagas?
I think so. Well, it seems to be
As far
so
as I'm
far,
aware.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
Looks
is
like it.
where the reception was gonna
Very
be.
quiet after that joke.
Very quiet
Hey,
after that
zombies.
joke. Yes.
Eating dinner right now
You think anyone survived?
It's 60 quid, right? Okay, 60 quid's fine. I'll buy a
What?
game at 60 quid. That's alright.
What's this, GTA?
Yeah, GTA is on about. Have you seen that somewhere, McKenz? Or are you using like translation? I'm told they
Aye,
say
'cause
it's
I don't-
60 quid.
The Raccoon City.
Because our tax is more, so it normally ends up being the
Exactly.
same price.
I'll never forget it.
Usually, yeah, exactly. Usually it's like for like
This
currency.
cathedral of yours.
Like,
But if you
in this
want
game, you can beat each other. Can we? I can't do
kiss
it.
your freedom goodbye.
I know.
Don't be looking at my bum, Hook. Don't be looking at my bum.
Can I shoot you?
I converted it
wanna
online.
waste the bullet, mind you.
McKenzie, it won't work out like that because
Yeah, well,
there's
no.
an American price will be pre-tax, or ours is post-tax.
yeah. It's like $80 in the States, they'll actually pay nearly 90
Yeah.
after tax because it's like 9 or 10%
Let's go.
they pay.
Follow the
But we can actually
shadow.
run now.
Ooh. Oh, there was a party in here, man. Oh, is this Harry Potter? Look at this. This is like a scene where they all sat down to dinner.
The Great Hall.
Yeah. Well, it was all right. It was
You said shadow
it
and
was a
I-
grand hall. It wasn't great, like.
I just instantly thought of the Rasmus. Do you remember that? The Rasmus in the Shadows. Anyone remember that song? What a fucking tune.
No. You have to sing it to me now.
I was gonna, and then I thought, I'm not spoiling this man with my beautiful voice. No chance. Banger of a song. Thank you,
Banger of a
Cloud.
song.
You're right.
I don't know it. I'm still going to call you late and say I'm sorry.
Yeah, may actually beat each other up. I'm sorry.
In the back.
In the shadows before I die. Oh, oh, oh.
Yes, ready. Ready gets it. He gets it.
Really does get it because he's sexy.
Well, that's true too. Like in Silver Fox.
I don't think this is a zombie. It's just far too quick. I went round
Yeah,
that
it's not.
corner and there was nothing. It was in
Belfast
Belfast
2002, there was
2002.
an ashtray at McDonald's. People were smoking inside.
Yeah, I don't know. Smoking
Yeah.
ban wasn't there at that point. Yeah,
It was like 2010 or something, I want to say, wasn't it? It wasn't even that long ago.
I think so.
I'm aware it's 16 years ago.
Fog.
Fog.
What?
The fog. It came out of nowhere.
Silent Hill.
Can't deny such claims.
Liz! Wait, let me go! It's too dangerous.
In the shadows was 2003. Right, okay.
My daughter,
Was it?
she's all alone.
Price is estimated between $69.99 and $70. Yeah.
But if you don't keep it down, you won't live to save her. You understand?
So I'm guessing
2010,
Liz is
16
over
years
half.
ago.
Liz. Is that your daughter?
It's about right for games now. Yeah, that you know, you kind of, it's
Leon, we
GTA.
don't have time to.
But we're going to buy GTA about 6 times. That's a problem.
$79.99 isn't okay for games though.
Liz, where are you?
There's
Not
no
for just a
reason when a game is digital to be that expensive. I know, don't get me wrong, now I know they've put in the most money ever in their video game to make it, and it's taken a long time. I get that. I can understand development costs, but it's GTA. You could release it at 40 quid and they'll make their money back in a week.
Did you see the one on Steam that's £1,000? And you
No,
just walk a
probably
red
Star
carpet
Citizen
and
or something, is it?
you sign at the very end, and it's just that's it.
No way.
Yep.
Why didn't I think of that?
Considering inflation, games are cheap now. Aye, but helium balloons,
Are they though?
because of inflation, they're so expensive.
I mean, like, development costs haven't went up for gaming. Like, the scope of games has went up, that's driven cost up. But fundamentally, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just greed. Although I'm happy to be proven wrong.
But like you said
Affects
earlier,
my
Hooke, when we
torture
were
anything?
chatting,
Yeah.
because GTA has gone to this price, the rest of them are going to follow suit.
Yep, 100%. And it's the same in no disc as well. They buy the discs now because GTA has no disc.
Yeah. We didn't get an increase in game costs, the PS4 went up to 50.
We will. Just stay close. Thank you.
Yeah, but they're going up to 80 now. That's my issue. A game at £60 is fine, I think. 80 is ridiculous.
It is
For a base
expensive,
game.
like,
For base
especially
game,
one that we're going to
if
buy
it's-
again when the enhanced edition comes out and the PC version comes out.
Or PC, exactly, yeah. Now, if it was the deluxe edition, was like 80 quid, I'd be like, fair enough. That's fine. Even if it has all digital
Also-
stuff. Whatever.
Also, for a game, it's 30 frames per second.
Exactly. And it's going to be upscaled to be 4K as well. Like, don't be fooled. Like, GTA is not like I will love GTA when I play it, but it's not going to look like the previews that you see now. I tell you that for
What's
free.
wrong with this guy? He's coughing. He's coughing, man.
Is he?
Is he butt? Is he butt? I can't see. Is he butt?
Longer the days of the black market picking up £5 PS1 games. I know. That was
the
my
indoor
life.
market, hey.
Crazy. Indoor market. What a time to be
remember.
alive. Oh, you're right, Leyoric.
You all right?
Can we kill him now?
Once I find my daughter,
That just went through his head. That was an absolute waste.
called her help.
It was.
Cut off. I know
Right.
she's here somewhere.
Even if he finds his daughter, he's still gonna have to be, we're still gonna have to put him out of his misery.
Yep.
Because he'll just end up eating his daughter.
Our game is also, I know. But your game isn't fucking GTA. That's true.
Here's the thing with that though. I feel like they're going to price that for still the games to be cheaper. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Nuts Corner was a time. I never went to Nuts Corner.
The elevator working again.
I believe we went from £40 from PS1 to PS2, 50 to PS3, 60 for PS4, and attempt to push up past 70 for PS5. It's
Yeah, I
it's what
agree.
people are willing to pay for, but GTA won't
That's
crash.
what it is.
But if Barbie Rewind came out at 80 quid, it would bomb.
Aye, 100%.
Quality
GTA
game
was
is
sell
probably
regardless of what it
wide
costs,
as
and they
release on
know that.
PC. I think they've more than no. It's not even the quality of the game be killed them.
It's
They
great.
pretty much confirmed that they want another release so they can make more money off it. Because
That's
they
exactly
know
what
the
you're right.
PC people.
The CEO or whatever it was literally all, yeah, we want another release window because we can cash in twice. Was literally what he said. Paraphrasing.
Yeah,
that,
because
that was the sentence.
PC, like a lot of people like me and Hooke are going to push the buy it in console and then on PC again when it comes out. Whereas if it was straight away
Yeah.
PC, it would just be straight away PC.
Aye, 100%, yep. I'm liking the horror atmosphere of this, by the way. This reminds me more of like early Resident Evil.
Careful.
Yeah,
At the minute.
the movement is very quick in it though.
Aye. Which I like compared to Resi 5, you were like a slug.
Yeah.
I love how every door just pushes open, by the way. We don't have to use
I don't like
that.
I don't like a scab being behind me.
No, me either. Oh shit. She looks hurt.
Yeah, she's a zombie. Inflation, £40.
Or close to it.
Let's say you're talking 120 for games. Well, no, you keep repeating the same thing over and over again.
Where are Mom and Liam?
I can save her.
They already got out. They're waiting for us at home.
But inflation should only impact things that it should impact. The rest is corporate greed, dude. That's the thing. Wonder if we'll find them two later in the game again. As zombies. Do we have to follow them? Oh no. This way?
Where? No,
Maybe we
maybe,
do.
maybe we have to go out. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we get out of this place?
Front door.
The underground parking lot.
Ads are about to run, folks.
The elevator is
My point is complaining that games are too expensive. It's nothing compared. Oh, Jesus, he showed a speech. We need AI to read it out first.
Expensive games to make. £80 is nothing compared to what it realistically could be. But my point was GTA 6 is a perfect example. If they release it at £80, it's going to sell just as much as it would if it was cheaper or more expensive again. It's GTA,
Yeah.
it sells on name alone. Like, it doesn't matter, it's going to sell. So, and their development cost is the highest probably it's ever been. Definitely, for any game, I would say. But they will literally make it back in a ridiculously short amount of time. Their entire development
Yeah.
cost, they will make back in weeks. They don't need for it to be £80. They want it to be £80 purely for profit. And it is a business, so I completely get it. I just don't like it.
Wonder what the price of Ocarina of Time Remaster will be. I think a lot of people say £80 plus if that is the price. It will be, and if you notice, Zelda games never lose value.
Never. Sure, was it the latest Mario was like 70 quid as well? 75 quid?
They'll make it Monday.
Mario Kart
Yeah,
World,
they will.
thank
Oh,
you.
they 100%. They'll
That's what
make
I
it
was on
Monday,
about.
no bother. Mario Kart was 80.
Which
yeah.
is ridiculous, by the way, because Mario Kart World was not an £80 worth of game either.
Expedition 33 dropped
Expedition
the 50 euros. It did. That's and
Completely agree.
it
Dr.
shook the whole system. Expedition 33. But it's a known quantity now. See if they released a new one, they could charge 80 quid no bother and people would pay it.
Ah.
Liz?
Or
The
it is.
industry loves when GTA comes out, grants some permission to increase the cost. Yeah.
Dacklamikins, cheaper games, Steam sales, etc.
Loaded.com.
That's it. Oh, really?
This is
Richard?
going well.
Has
We're stuck in
Nintendo
an
started
elevator,
the-
these two.
I know, with no power. Fantastic. I hear eating.
Nom 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 nom. Now we all just need steam machines. I know.
I was just
Oh,
about
it's
to mention
her.
Steam machines, really, actually. Stupid quick time events. I wonder if you can turn them off.
Let's go.
Pop. Well done. There we go.
What about him?
Mario Kart World is £60. So that's £20 a difference for you.
Either them or us, and they don't hesitate.
Yeah, it's more costly to buy a physical Nintendo. They're $15. I always find as well, see, working in retail, the pre-owned versions never really dropped in price that much either.
No.
Because they sold.
Always so expensive.
Pokemon games
Yeah,
even
exactly.
got more expensive than they were at launch.
Oh, shit.
Oh, fuck. You alright?
Nope. There we go. What's reload, by the way? Do you know?
What?
What's the button to reload? Do you know? Octopus, thank you for the bits.
Where are you?
Why have I no torch on? Oh, this reminds me of Mr. X and Resi 2, being down in the garage.
Lots of zombies.
Thank you to the bits, dude. Lots of zombies. We both have to
fuck.
touch a door still.
Jesus, McKinnon's that got me. It's the recommended retail price for $75. Yeah, I remember people saying about that when it came out. Ready? What the price it? Help.
Which is too
Lads,
expensive.
look behind you. I can already see a fucker behind you.
Oh, shit. I can see it too.
Evil lad. Lads, can you not hear them?
Nope.
Let's go.
One of us. When you adjust the price of older games for inflation, they come out at what roughly they cost now. The corporate side of the industry need to increase costs because they spend as much on marketing as they did to make the game. That, and they prefer to have their studios in some of the most expensive places they love, which also increases the price. That's a good point. That is a good point. You're right about
What I will say,
Go ahead.
Get the hell out of here.
GTA have spent fuck all on marketing. Was it one trailer?
I know, and a few images released the other day. Mental. They don't need to, though. That's the thing. They're like,
They don't-
why?
they don't
Why
need to.
spend that? You don't need to. No. Great point, though. Super. Great point.
Oh, definitely.
Ooh, ammo. I can't get over how different the UI is. What was the time gap in in real life between Resi 5 and 6? Does
No
anyone
idea.
know? It's
We'll probably see
drastically
when we
different.
see Chris because I think he looks a lot different in this game.
Ah, right, okay.
He said it was some sort of fog. If this thing's spreading gas form, then anyone
I'm loving this so far.
got infected.
That would mean everyone on campus.
Is that a herb? Straight out? No, it's a plant.
Why is it so quiet?
I'm finding the items difficult to identify. You know, when you're just kind of walking over and
Aye.
assuming there is
Because
something.
you ran past that ammo. For example, they're not like highlighted or glowing or something.
Yeah. This location's quite
Year
good.
and 7
Oh,
months
we're in an
between the release
auditorium.
dates. Alright, cool. 3 years and 7 months, right? Okay, it's drastically different, but that's a fair amount of time, to be honest. Drastically
there's
different in a
people-
good way, by the way. I'm not complaining.
Somebody down there.
Is there?
And
Look at us just sitting there.
3 years and 7 months between releases. What's this for?
Resi 5 and 6.
Oh, right, okay.
I forgot that was an email octopus. Still laughing at that. So that was a zombie, yes? That was a... Can we still do the whole shoot once to stagger and then melee? Yeah?
Yes. You can just melee in general.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to wait for it, I don't think.
Skill points. Wait, you can pick up skill points off people? The fuck? Oh no, it's an item I picked up. Why are the zombies like melting into nothing? That's new.
It's probably
Doesn't it?
limitations of the actual game itself, but
Engine.
so it
Right,
doesn't have
okay.
to. Yeah, so it doesn't have to keep them on screen.
Render limitation. Alright, fair enough. And what a great one. I was lurking you, Octopus as well in your last stream. Couldn't chat unfortunately because I work. As always. Right, so we can look out the window here.
I'm just
But
looking
it's
for
such a chill
items
time.
here.
Such a chill time. I said it earlier whenever you shouted them out, but honestly, if anybody does know Octopus, definitely worth a follow. Lovely man.
Where is this? Oh, I have a couple of different weapons as well. I have a shotgun and handgun.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, D-pad left and right and up and down for grenades.
I feel like Jean-Claude Van Damme here.
I was
Yeah.
looking to see what we're saying about skill points. Where does that come under?
I don't know.
Up skills. It's in the menu. Oh, I don't have any yet, so can't do anything with it, but okay.
Love how the zombies are like blocking attacks and stuff. I got a herb.
Did you find more zombies? Zombies? More
I was
zombies?
upstairs, opened the door. Oh, it's Y, isn't it? Going to.
Is our items our own, or do we have to share again?
I don't know actually.
Have you picked up the items in this
Like,
room?
how did
Because
you
there's
bring
ones
up-
on the floor for me.
All that stuff. Weapons, RB.
They're your
Survival
own.
knife,
Oh, nice one.
uh,
So just pick up whatever you
I
want.
just have a knife and a gun. I don't have a shotgun or anything like you were saying.
Yeah, shotgun. I didn't pick it up. It was just there.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, he fucking tackled me.
I got.
Nice one.
There we go.
I think
Here's
you can
just
give ammo
creeping.
when you need to.
Shit. Do you want that herb? Go ahead.
What's my health like? Oh, so is
Right,
that
okay.
are them we squares on the UI? That's our health.
The white squares. The
Yeah.
top. Right. Okay.
I shot him.
I seen that.
No, he's actually dead.
He's
but
dead.
okay.
Yeah. Boof.
But other items.
Healing
are
works
your
at
own, right,
5 if you
okay.
stand together. You both with first aid sprays. Right. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Like in Resident Evil 5. I like that about 5. I thought that was good.
Yeah, me too.
That you could
That's what I
prioritize
seen to
healing your
Leyoric.
teammate.
Today that I liked Resi 5 ended really strong. I wasn't so sure of it at the start, I'll be completely honest, but it ended really strong.
Did you want to take out the hair?
Sure.
We're kung fu fighting.
We are. This is great.
Our moves as
You like
fast as
that?
lightning. Did
Yeah.
you use skill point to purchase skill? What is this?
Wait, how did you
Doesn't
do that? Where are you?
I just pressed select, but it doesn't. It just
Select.
doesn't bring anything up. There's nothing in this menu yet. You get
Oh,
skills
equip
between
skills, I
chapters,
see it.
right? Okay. So did you pick up anything
Right,
here? Eh?
perfect. Herb. You want it?
Okay, so we both can pick it up, right? Okay. Cool.
Herb. Right, you can combine, can't you? So if I go store, combine. Yeah, there we go. I've made a stronger herb. Right, okay. Oh, so it's like the old resis where you had like the bit of pepper and you could see the actual like piles of ash on it, essentially.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay. The horizontal UI was a choice, I have to say.
definitely was. I see when Flemish was first playing this. Yeah, I created a UI for him in Stream Elements, and he was like, "How did you do that so fast?" I was like, "Skill."
Skill point between chapters. That's what it was. Oh, you fucker.
You dying?
No. I
Damn.
was mashing melee to kick this boy's ass and he still got me. There we go. You drop anything for my trouble? Sweet.
Good thing you got
Yeah, I'm really
expert
liking
in
this.
chat
This
here.
is very good.
Exactly. We got RE6's biggest fan.
What are those? I've only played this once in the PS3 and don't really remember much about it. The skill thing is interesting. But like, there's a bit of a like RPG element to it then.
Yeah, it seems like. And then
What's a bit
if you
unique?
get a if you get a rocket launcher, it's also an RPG.
That is true. And as we had established in the last game, RPGs are great. Also, we locked the game to 60 FPS. Blemish. I don't know if the 6 has any of the quirks that 5 had.
Thing like reduce damage taken, increase piercing. Oh, very good. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you for the Gigantified for fuck's sake,
Oh.
Leyoric. What are those?
Teddy,
I've
how
only
are you, my
played
friend? Good to see you.
once since PS3. Don't remember much about it.
It doesn't have
This
any
game
of the
doesn't
quirks
seem-
of 5. Right, okay.
No boulder punching.
Get to the security
that was the
gate and
choice.
lead you off the campus.
Where'd they get the security gate
This
that lead
game
us off
is
the
very
campus?
good looking. So this was 360 PS3 era, yes?
Yeah.
He has a bottle on his hand.
He's just having a wee pint. You leave him alone. It's a nice, warm, sunny day, and he's having a wee drink. That was quite cool.
Yes, and
I like
that's
that.
okay.
I like that.
How do I reload? There we go. Figured it. It's all good. Did you drop anything? No.
There's a girl up here chilling.
So Leyoric looked up earlier on, chat, to see if there was like any mods for this. Like quality of life fixes, all that stuff. All the mods were just filth.
Just sexy mods.
Just filth. Every one of them. There's a green line there, but I can't do anything about it.
There's a lot of traversal in this, so I'm assuming we're going to get overwhelmed soon. Wow! You see
Yeah.
that? Very good.
Kick ass. I suppose I know what you're saying. How to go babe with mommy milkers? There's an even hotter tentacle monster. Basically. That's what the mods were anyway. Do you want to take that green and red herb there? Combine them for yourself?
Yeah, have him here. Anyway. Nexus mode's a pathway the abilities consider unnatural. Do it.
That's one way, but I remember that fun enough with The Witcher 3. Back when I was playing that on PC, I remember looking up the mods. I was like, right, I wonder what you can do. And there's a lot of filth mods for that too.
I did that with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it was very dirty. But
On again, the gate's
there
locked.
was also a really good one for making
Sorry, not from here.
Cloud in the Squall, which I enjoyed.
Try the
Oh, no
staff
way.
building behind the bleachers. I'm guessing you'll
Not Evil
find keys
Babe
for
with
the
Mommy
gate there.
Milkers. Yes. Get the keycard. Of course, we have to get the keycard.
The camera changes when you sprint.
I'm doing okay.
It kind
Thanks
of
for
reminds me of
asking.
Gears of War sprint.
No, you ignore him, Teddy. He's not good enough. He's not good enough for you.
You're grand, Teddy. Not at all. I'm intrigued what you're doing in streamer bot.
What's around the next corner?
Got it.
He's dead. Did you just trap me up?
No, the guy on the floor did.
Or was it? Oh, the boy on the floor did. Okay.
Not the hero we wanted, but the hero we needed. Hey, there's some great ones. Like, you ever do the seamless co-op in Elden Ring? That's
Oh,
phenomenal.
shit. It is. Dark Souls 2's getting it very soon as well.
So here, yeah.
The door's locked. There's no way out.
I'm on it. Just give me a minute.
Oh, bollocks.
Oh, they're fucking themselves through the window.
Sure are. Yeah, I reserve ammo as much as you can.
There's so many. We can't take them all.
Where'd the fire come from? What
Me,
the
I
fuck?
threw a grenade.
Some pretty tight security
Well
on
done.
college campus.
Did not do it.
Oh, they're still coming.
Oh, there's more. What the fuck? Is that another grenade?
No, the fire extinguisher.
Ah.
I've almost got it. Hang on.
Oh, they throw bottles at you. Grab the shits. What the fuck? That zombie just, like, Superman punched me. Like Roman Reigns.
Hey, you made a leap for it.
It's open. Get out of there now.
Go, go, go. Oh, shit,
Oh,
it's
but
blocked.
there was loads of stuff in the ground. We wanted to go up it.
Oh, there we go. Nice. Oh, how convenient. There's a big bar. Oof.
Oh, he's just, boy, is he okay? Is this guy
For
cool?
some
Is this guy
reasons.
cool? This guy cool? The guy with the knife
Right,
in his
I need
face?
shield. Not combine. I want to use. What's the? How do you heal?
I
RB?
think we have to pop it on a weapon slot.
Right.
So,
So how to do that? No, you can put it on a weapon slot.
to pop it in the slot somewhere.
Oh,
Nope, I just put it in the
have you pressed
storage.
L1? There's like Batman vision.
Very cool.
Okay. How the fuck did I hit? I've seen the only saving grace for Resident Evil 3R remaster, which is the not safe for work Carlos mods. Jesus. Right, herb. Store in case or discard. No, I don't want to do either of those.
I stored in case and it just disappeared, so don't be doing that.
Yeah. I can combine, which I also don't want to do. I just want to use it. What the fuck? I don't know. Can't figure it out. There must be a way. It's not going to be in there. Item slot. Right, can't do that. What the fuck? What's the issue? I can't figure out how to heal. Blemish. Like, I get store in case or discard. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
RB.
You- I pressed RB.
No,
Oh,
when you're
right.
out of the menu.
This is one of your biggest gripes that isn't clear. I didn't know you had any issues with this game, man.
You never mentioned it.
No. Ah, pop. I just sent it to the case by mistake. Oh, damn it.
There's certain
It's
times in this where it, you can tell zombies are going to get up. Why not let me prematurely attack them?
There's a button that adds it to your... So you go into your inventory, select the herbs that you've combined, and there's a button that adds the healing to your inventory. Well, now I've sent them to storage, which I don't know how to retrieve from storage, so I've goofed myself in that regard. But that's my fault. First aid sprays, however, work differently. You have to equip the first aid spray and spray it like a weapon to use it. Right, okay.
Oh, so you have to send the storage. That's where you use it from. Right, okay.
Wait, so how do we access storage? Do you like...
RB. Whenever you're not in the menu, just press RB.
Right, okay.
If you look at your UI. There you go.
Ah, right,
They're like wee
okay.
sweets.
So the storage is the
Like
5
this.
now beside the RB?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I assume storage was like the storage boxes you got in older resis. No, that type of thing?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. What's that item? Keycard?
Campus keycard.
Nice.
And everybody gets up. Fucking it. I'm kicking him.
Just healed myself. What? You jerk.
Right, now everybody's going to get up, even though I prematurely said I wanted to punch them.
Yeah. Yep, I knew she was alive, little shit.
You right in there?
I'm just beating up a zombie.
Aye, fair play.
There we go.
No, I shot her. No, that's shenanigans. Absolute
Did you know-
shenanigans.
I love how we trip over zombies. That's funny. Teamwork.
And your man's going to get up now in a wee second.
They don't exist in 4, 5, and 6. Right, okay. I still think Resi Zero is my favorite, you know. The
Yeah, you
inventory
really
management,
enjoyed
like,
that
aim
one.
is... I really did, The inventory management, no, was its weakest point. I'll admit that. But apart from that, it was very good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm liking the kung fu.
It's great, hey? Saves so much ammo. You dick. He's gonna grab me, isn't he? Yep. Yep. God's sake, hey? Hey, heal again? There we go. I'll take the ammo though. Nice. How are we getting on, lads? Akira, not too bad. Not too bad. How's your
We're
good
doing
self?
well.
Are you melting or are you in the nip to combat it? Get off, my friend. No one can beat it up apart from me. Right, so I don't think I have like first aid sprays. No, I don't.
No, we
That's
don't have any yet. There's a few of them over here. Rawr.
Slot equip. Right, okay. So for the most part, I'm assuming we can probably just run past most of these.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I probably need you to do this.
Except whenever they grab you.
Yeah. Oh, am I stuck? Sorry. Okay. Here, let's just run up here. Do this.
Yup.
Save the ammo and all that jazz.
Sorry, I've been lurking while thinking how you find the game. I'm actually enjoying it. It's quite good. I'm liking the
Aye,
actiony
excellent.
kung fu element of it. It's not as scary
too.
as another Resident Evil game.
No, I knew that was going to happen. I'm sure that's why we have a gate that they can't get through.
Yeah.
Of course.
Maybe they're going to
should've
take
been here.
offense.
He's got a weapon. What the fuck? He just hit me with a 2x4? Nice. Just bonked him over the head with his own weapon. Love it. But surely that metal detector should have stopped by now.
It will, and never call me Shirley.
Don't want to distract you from the game. But I'm watching my fic all on. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm going to think about that constantly now. This house.
Just Akira in the nip.
But I'm loving it as well. I have to say, the echo basically what Leyoric was saying. I'm enjoying the fact that it's a bit more horror again. Like, it's darker, it's gritty.
Yeah.
Now, I'm aware that not all the campaigns might be this way.
Take a right up ahead. You're almost there. Keep running.
What the heck?
Oh.
Did you use RKO her?
No, I didn't even RKO. It was people's elbow.
Fucking love it. So
Fucking
cool.
class.
I feel like the first section is the best part of the game. And that's not saying much. So it's to get better.
Oh, you
Get
got
off,
me.
my friend. How dare you? Gotcha. Shit, there's a
My
lot.
audio is getting weird.
In the game?
Yeah. But it's not OBS, it's actual game audio is getting choppy.
Oh, okay. I wonder if it's a bug.
That's what you do, Helena, you just reload at them. That'll kill them.
That's a light. Thought it was
Oh,
a
they're
bit
running?
loud. I'm just gonna
I
run
think we
past
should
them
just
there.
book it.
Aye.
You leave him without me, you son of a bitch.
Damn it, no keys.
Are you sure?
What am I meant to do here?
It's downhill from the first part. Could be a spider. Could be a spider.
No, nothing.
I'm not even on the car, I don't think.
As easy as it looks in the movies. At least the wiper.
Should we hotwire it?
Aha! There we go. That'll do it.
It's clear behind us.
You're under arrest.
Oh, I actually have to press the button to drive her.
You buckled in?
Go! Onward.
Meow.
Meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Wait, do I actually have to drive? I do. Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool. I was not expecting that.
Now we just gotta get through town.
Without getting killed.
Jesus.
Just flip
I
the
can
fucking
drive.
car to get him.
Good driving.
He's dead now. Got him.
That was a cutscene. That wasn't me. Just saying.
Leon, Helena, are you two all right?
Yeah.
Hanging in there. But we need another way to the cathedral.
Well,
Oh, we're going
I
on the
found
sewers
an
there.
underground route that may be safer.
The sewers, huh?
Sears is always the best bet, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's do it. Did your game audio
This is
okay
going to
now?
be great. It's just very choppy.
Your camera's very choppy at times for me.
I don't know what it could be. I don't know.
Could be Twitch.
No, because the game audio is coming through the actual game itself. Don't you kiss me? Don't you? Don't be at it.
You usually let me. Stop playing hard to get.
Hey, if you look like Leon, I
So-
would.
We should hurry.
Yeah. That's fair.
Not a fan of sewers.
So the prologue to be played. That must be
Let's get
after
to
this
the
then?
cathedral, and then
I
I'll
think
seems-
so.
Yeah.
Who's playing hard to
Legolas.
get? Me?
The orc, as always. What's happening, Legolas? Good to see you.
But sir, a lot of people
Folks in my chat, don't forget to check in.
desire to reveal the truth.
Because you know you evolve and increase your power level.
It might create more problems than it solves.
Who's this fella? Get from the start.
The president?
A lesson I learned well.
Mr. President. Yeah.
Bioorganic weapons are a global.
Is that your standard fire? Is that a height joke?
We are partly to blame.
Thank you,
We have
Legolas.
to come clean and start working with the rest of the world if we want to have any chance of fighting this.
Changed my entire name on Twitch. It did. Fucking did too.
Whatever you decide, sir. I'm with you.
That's funny. Legolas, type exclamation mark,
Always value
exclamation mark, power. Now that you've checked on.
It's time we take responsibility and end this.
I do have that
mess.
power. Ironically, I can't change my own name to just Hooke on Twitch though. Blood.
That's because I got it. Jesus, look at Legacy's level.
Ooh, Legolas, you're so close to leveling up. 20,000 is the first cap. You're so close. Next stream,
Let's get moving.
you'll level
We
up.
don't have much time.
Certainly got our work cut out for us.
Believe me, I know.
There's a few people that are going to be close. Because I was setting up the
Hello.
variables offline. Yeah.
No, wait a second. I'm just looking to see if there's
Ooh, John.
anything hardware-wise which is holding this back.
That's all right. You're about 5,000 off as well. So, he's all checked on last stream. Do you remember? And he's got like the random power level as well. That it now accumulates and keeps going.
No,
Sean's at
nothing's
15, so you're
even
about 5
near.
grand off too.
Nothing's even near 100%. So it might be just the game.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Legolas, I'll show you. So if you're watching on my stream here, have a look at mine now, up in the corner. So I'm Super Saiyan 3.
Of
That's
course
how it
you are.
looks.
Of
That's
course you
not
are.
even the top level though. There's 7 levels to get.
Mm,
7.
I'm correct.
Of course you are. I didn't give myself a top level.
Ah, you did.
No, I didn't.
You did. Lies. It's all lies.
That is at 15 odd as well. So loads of people are going to get the first power up next stream. The Super Saiyan 3 that I just brought up there, it's meant to have a sound effect. I forgot. It's on the notes on my phone. Super Saiyan 2 and 3 doesn't have a sound effect yet. Oh, I have squats to do. I shall do them squats. I have
Yeah,
squats
you
from the
did
start. I
them
didn't
homework,
do
right?
as well, John. Yeah.
You're a wild
Since you're
man, eh?
tinkering at the game there.
I'm giving the dog treats and you're just ignoring your chat.
You should just have a redeem instead that makes me do squats. For the co-op
That ma-
streams.
on mine that makes you do squats. I
Yeah.
should.
True, in the next episode of The Hook to see. Tune in next time. Yes, latency gets it.
He gets it. He knows what the crack is.
Sorry, latency. Cloud. It's going to take a while. Careful now. Thank you very
No,
much.
I'm still
Cloud,
calling
type
it. I'm still
exclamation
calling
mark
it.
power
Lindsay.
just to see. If not, I'll manually add your variable and sure about to see. Is it a Chili's top? It is indeed. Good spot. So Red Hot Chili's, and you'll notice the album. Fantastic album. One of the OGs. Who the hell is latency? Was he even real? There's a bit of a latency in my brain. Now calling you Cloud. That's what's happening. Hot sex blood magic. No, it's sugar sex blood magic, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
My t-shirt tune up bar.
Do you know how to tell how heavy a chili pepper is?
Yeah.
Give it away. Give it away. Give it away now. Right, leaving the buttons out. I don't burn to death in the heat of a back soon. It's not that bad tonight.
It's not that bad. Like even on here now, it's 23 with all the shit on.
The last
We
great
had 4
chilies
words aimed
album.
at. The last great Chili's album. Oof. See, I like some of the new stuff, like Dark Necessities, for example. That track, love it. But I do agree that it's a fantastic album. I do agree.
29 for you,
29
man.
for
That's
me.
awful.
It's
That
to
is
be
not cool.
like around that here tomorrow. Look here, Ross. Try playing Gaelic tonight. Oh, you're out playing Gaelic tonight. That's right. Jesus.
Oh, here's somebody.
Dark Necessities is great to be fair. It is. It's a fantastic track. I absolutely love it.
Tell me what you
Ah, for fuck's
Something's gonna
sake,
drop us
no,
in the water.
Flemish.
Excuse me?
I'm getting rid of that
Every
redeem.
album since then.
No.
It's going.
What do you say? No.
It's a good song or two,
No.
but not one has been an
I'm
album
not
with
gonna
no
give you a treat
skips.
if you call me that.
I think that's
What
always
do
a
you say?
testament to an album. And one thing I love about albums is, you know, when they're intentionally designed to be listened to in one sitting, like the full
Leo.
album. Love it.
Hook, I'm going to get rid of that redeem, I think.
Well, you were saying just about brain behavior, look. Can I kick her out? Nope. Cannot.
Yep.
Leon, Helena, we'll be out of contact when you're in there.
Where's the clue?
I'll
Can't
still
hear
be
this.
tracking your movements, but be careful.
Still doing treat?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's numbing.
I think
Well, showing her, but
was it
looking
Can't Stop, I think was the first Chili songs I ever heard back in the day on MTV. MTV Music. What a time that was. And like I was
Ooh.
hooked, shall we say. What was
Oh,
that?
thank you for the
Oh, there's
giant,
electric water.
the gigantified emote there.
That's pretty cool. That is such a cool emote.
That is. Yeah.
I love how
And
dark
that
this game
came
is.
from Sierra, was in the background of Flemish's stream one night. She was in another room, and all we heard on the stream was, yeah, yeah, yeah. She was playing with Thorin.
I love
Opposite end of
See,
the house.
people that opposite end of the house. The people that absolutely nail co-streaming is Flemish and Sierra, and I think because the two of you are in the same room when you do it, I think that's a massive factor. I would love if I had like the wee garden office and we didn't live like half an hour apart to do this in person as well. It'd be great crack. How does that you use all your ammo? Core.
Because she
Same
can
park
slap
one.
me. That is true. Give him a death
Because I
stare.
can give him
know,
a death
I
stare.
know.
To be fair, your death stares are
Train
hilarious.
coming.
Oh shit. Well, that should have wiped out all those enemies first.
Happy days.
That's good.
It did.
It did.
too.
Sweet.
I thought things were going off the rails there a wee bit, but now we're well trained.
For fuck's sake.
There's a stream van.
Get
Drive
yourself a
around.
stream van. Ooh.
It's an idea. Keeping the internet signal though at that point, isn't it?
Put Starlink on the roof, and then as
The
we drive
dogs.
around, can I play jingles? Like
Dogs.
random jingles. Oh, see them.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog. Come on over here, Teddy, and co-screen Final Fantasy 14.
No, I do. I think it's class. I love tuning in and watching you guys do co-streams. It's great. Although,
Well,
as usual,
I enjoy tuning on the
serial
Sierra
worker.
streams. Flemish is just there sometimes. I'm dead.
What?
Oh no, I'm not.
I shot the dog off you. Maybe I can heal you here, can I?
Oh, it's the same thing as 5. We stab each other.
I just punched you in the boob. Grant.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Worked. Right. Just keep going. Sweet.
Oh, they're up there cuddling. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them.
No, aye. Aye. Secluded area, you know. From the dick. I noticed the laser, like the red dot, doesn't line
trains.
up perfectly with. Oh shit! Doesn't line up perfectly with the center of the crosshair. That's odd. There's a bit
Maybe
of a sway to it.
it's maybe it's a realism sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I forgot you can sprint.
Picking up loads of these wee chess pieces.
Yeah, it's experience. Make sure you pick them up. Oh shit, that's an electrified enemy.
Shocking.
Look, they're getting fucking zapped up there in that water.
Appreciate everyone does join our co-streams because they get derailed sometimes and the atmosphere is hilarious and everyone's there.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's a good wee community. I enjoy everybody in it.
It is.
Flemish too.
Class. He died already. My god. No, he's nailed, like, and he's like the whole banter between the two E's and like giving each other grief is what's class about it.
Who's Flemish? It's Flim Flam Bamalam. The Pineapple King. I shot him in the knee and his head blew up. If that isn't a statement about old age, I don't know what is.
There's an access
Pineapple
panel
King! Let me sent.
There we go, I need your assistance to open the door.
Oh, wee second.
You're right. Nice.
How's that for timing?
Line's out too. There's blood here.
Bullshit. Oh, but there's an organ in the ground. Why is my torch off? There we go.
Mine's just turned off as well. I think they just commented on that though.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. Fair enough. That's fine.
Can hear somebody?
Me too.
Oh, he's behind us.
Oh. Nice.
It really makes it worth your while to kill enemies in this game. You know, normally you're trying to conserve ammo and avoid enemies because they drop stuff.
Yeah. Flemish and Sierra, where are you up to in this game? In your co-streams?
I think they finished it with that.
I was about to say, I think you finished it, but I don't know if I'm misremembering. There's a collectible there. See it? I get to shoot them.
Yeah. Just put a bullet in it.
So that's kind of like Resi 4 where you have the collectibles.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they run around the tunnel.
Way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's grand.
Like a tunnel vision. Oh, fuck, people coming. That's quite cool. I like the lighting of that. That's very cool.
The atmosphere, man. Like, honestly, this game has been so good so far. Right.
That was a really nice touch. Oh, they're sprinting. Train. I can hear it.
We stand in the middle, we should be good.
It was behind us.
The scene you get
They're
after
too
the
fast.
splatter. That's free ammo for me. Sweet. Is 6 better than 5? Yeah, massively so far.
The start
I
so far.
liked the end of 5 though. I liked how 5 ended, I have to admit. The movement
far,
in this
6
is
is a
very
lot of
Gears
fun.
of War.
Yeah.
It is. Did you have to get that collectible again there?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's good to know. Right, so Train's going to do us a favor here. So if we stand in the middle.
Not my lucky day.
I think they're still
wait for the
coming.
train to come. Yeah. Thought that was an explosive barrel there. It's not.
Don't know why they went in fire, but okay.
I for a incendiary grenade.
Ah, right, that'll do it. We're gonna have them all dead by the time this train gets here.
Maybe we need to go a bit forward, you know? Maybe that's what it is.
Nope, it's coming anyway.
Here it comes. Who get, to get me
Got
that
you
time?
out there.
What? I was standing in the middle. Bullshit. Bullshit. Flemish would say so he would, Tomahawk. Loves this game, so he does. And I can see why. Flemish, like, we give you grief for always talking about it. It's kind of like Happy Irishman and Monster Hunter. But Happy Irishman was right that Monster Hunter was good.
He was,
you're
Happy
right.
Irishman was 100% right.
Yeah. Right, so I'm standing exactly in the middle. Behind one of these
I'm
pillars.
just running.
That makes no sense. But I got splattered.
My lucky day.
Did you get hit again?
Fuck off, game. Right, I'm just going to run from the start.
Just whenever you
Because
hear
of
it,
things
look
that
behind you
happened
to
there.
see which side it's on.
It comes down the same time, or the same side. Sure, it comes behind us. I
That
stand on
does
the
it?
other side, and it still hit me. That doesn't make sense. Sure, it hit me from behind in the cutscene.
Aye, but look to see where it's coming from. I think it changes. The same time. It's the same every time.
No, it's the same every time. It hit me from behind. If it changed, it would hit me from the front.
My lucky day.
Aye, but I think it's just look to see which track it is. Are you just running?
Yep. Get off me, Dick. Ah, get off.
Look out! Train!
You're saying
gonna lose me shit.
they drive on them bars on the floor. Fair play, Teddy.
Watch out for that train. Yes.
I'm not a big fan of Halo. Oh, Flamash, you cheeky bastard. You say that in front of Hook.
Ooh.
Hook was giving you compliments earlier.
I was. Giving you loads of compliments. Cheeky figure.
What's the worst Halo game? Halo 5?
5. Yeah.
This is a nightmare.
5, like,
Never got on it the way the others did. So we just sprinting then?
Look out!
I am.
Train!
Right, I'm standing in the middle. That train hits me, it's bullshit. How is the train driving through pillars? I'm actually gonna crack up.
Maybe you have to be on the opposite side of the track. Because it's hitting you every time.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. I'm standing in the middle.
You're saying the whole series is awful. Cool, I won't get it.
Yeah, it's fair enough if you didn't get on it. There's nothing wrong with that, jeepers. No, that's the beauty of gaming. Like, there's some games that folks that love that others don't. Like, Ocarina of Time's a perfect example where, for many people, that is like their favorite game of all time. And for me, I'm like, doesn't crack my top 10. I can appreciate it's a good game, but it doesn't crack my top 10. Right, so you running backwards to look out for the train?
Yep.
Right, good though, man.
Also, who's on a train during this?
Yeah, the train can only come down one side, by the way, too, because there's one here blocking it.
Unless that one starts. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe. We've probably goofed here, and they're all going to come down here now, I bet you.
Yeah, I see, so it's that side.
Hi, so I'm standing in the middle, so how does duck...
I stopped standing in the
I'm
middle. Pick a side. Pick a lane.
No, that doesn't make any
You're
fucking sense. I was standing here behind these pillars. How can that hit me? That's... Whoever designed that, that developer, needs a kick in the fucking genitals. So stupid.
You're too busy being on the fence, that's
Anyway.
no problem.
Anyway.
Yes, but you
It's just
didn't play
stupid,
it
though. Doesn't
at
make
its
sense.
original release as this Ocarina. That's because Final Fantasy VII was better.
Ocarina, I played it a bit when I was younger. And it was only out maybe a few years. I never owned Nintendo to play, but I played it in a friend's house. I never finished it, mind you, but I did play like an hour here and there. Back in the day. It just never grew up me, to be honest.
Is this the button to dodge the train? The previous section gave us a button to dodge the train.
Yeah, it did, yeah. That's right.
Not
That
good.
train just power
Why?
up it.
What is a squelchy noise? Oh, your man.
Okay,
There he
cool,
is.
right there. Right, so I'm Someone, oh, we had to go on the train. Right, okay.
Well,
Or not.
if we're going on the train, we have to learn how to conduct ourselves.
Not getting that open.
Conductor.
I want to have a look around in there. Boost me up on top.
Okay. I'll stand out here and waste all my ammo. Do we have to do it in front or something? Must have to do it from the front.
How? He got me to the train. Fair play. Fair
He did. He's dead.
I have a thing down here to collect. Collect it all.
So do I,
Did you
actually.
have to boost me on top?
That's right. I think we had to do it down here. Yeah, it's down the front.
You have to do it down there. Dirty bitch.
Many more to come. Right, okay. I don't mind that, having to dodge the train. That's fine. It's just the fact that it mechanically didn't make sense that it was hitting me. That's what wound me up. You fighting there?
Yep, there's people in here.
Okay. Nice. On PC, the buttons are space and R. It's really annoying.
Keep your guard up.
Oh, they dodge the train, Sarah?
I know it's the controller we're using.
There's a Donegal mod that removes the trains. Yeah, a country
good.
had hundreds of rail tracks and networks, and we'll just remove them all for the crack.
I refuse to use control. And that backfired on you in Tomb Raider really badly. Bigly so. Bigly
Yes.
so.
No,
Because
I
Tomb Raider
honestly, I
needed the
prefer,
controller.
unless it's an FPS, I prefer a controller, to be honest.
I always prefer controller. Unless it makes me do like a keyboard, or if it's like Baldur's Gate or something.
Something like Final Fantasy 14, for example, as well.
Or an
Something that makes sense
FPS.
to be keyboard
FPS, I'll use mouse and keyboard.
FPS, aye.
I only backfired once or twice.
Go. I'm all turned around
Parkour.
here. Can't believe how dark this game gets. Mental.
The use of light is very good, isn't it, though?
It is, I think, like, if you're playing this solo, it'll be more scary as well.
Yeah, but you don't have a bad AI to work with, then. AI.
Oh, that's true. AI.
It's not
You're
more
at the mercy
scary.
of them.
You're more scary.
Good shot. Nicely job.
What, me?
I tripped over something, and it hurt me.
Well, at our age,
Well,
any
no.
sort of trip hurts.
That is
AI.
true.
It's AI. It's in the game.
That's no way to talk about Hooke.
You have an AI worse than Sheva? I was Sheva. Why am I always the girl?
Ah. Yeah, jerk. Unless you mean
See, to be fair,
Leyoric
see
is
the
worse
amount
than
of
Sheva,
grief I
that's fair
gave
enough.
you. See the amount of grief I gave you by Portal. We've been playing Resident Evil. Okay, you know, there hasn't been any
We have.
major disagreements.
No. It's been fine. I much prefer this, though. The start of Resi 5 fried my head a bit.
Yeah,
It was just
that was a
too
lot better
chaotic.
so far.
Aye. I like this pace. I love how we're both getting items out of all these boxes, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because normally Resident Evil games are very resource stingy.
What the
That's
fuck
not
was
good.
that?
I need you to open this door! Hurry!
Um,
St. Peter! Please!
we just leave her. Yeah.
Nah, fuck it. We'll help her. She doesn't look hurt.
Oh, lady, don't.
Ah, for God's sake.
Oh, she did it.
She's dead.
That's not right. I shot that bullshit.
Yep. That should help. Your man just fell down the stairs. Critter, have you had an accident at work? Peter might be Grant. Now he's probably other half or his mommy, one of the two. What the fuck was
Oh,
that?
it spat at me.
I love how the gore is very good. Like when you
Yeah.
shoot them and they react, and like their head slides off, or like their limb explodes essentially. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chef wasn't that bad as an AI, but as your partner may as well do nothing.
She was good. Apparently, she's
right,
good for
okay,
storage.
So your AI partner in this? Right, okay. Get you, dude. Forget you.
Oh, behind you.
From the behind us.
We got a runner.
Yeah. Off with your head.
Good. You made it. You can reach the street level from there.
What are conditions like up there?
It's gotten pretty bad. Hell on Earth isn't much of a stretch.
Yeah, down here's probably better than the street, to be completely honest.
It's a subway to go.
I like that idea. I've just been thinking this way we've been playing, because we weren't sure what campaign to play and all that jazz. I like the idea of definitely doing this one, but 100% covering the other ones as well over time. I do like that.
Yeah, because we don't need to do it all in one go, because I know that you probably want to get back to streaming whatever games you're streaming.
Well, no, I love doing my Souls games. I want to, at some stage... I'm really enjoying this. Like, I'm in no rush to stop co-streaming, by the way. Oh. A lot of my
One thing I
OBS is
really
shit.
want to do at some point is a community night game.
Yes. Sorry, I was yapping about it. Like, OBS shit itself and came back here. Hopefully I'm still live. Heck, what was I saying? I'm still loving the co-streaming. Definitely. I do have, like, obviously down the line after I played the likes of... Oh shit, watch yourself.
What?
I played the likes of... When I finished the Dark Souls 2 DLC on Sunday. The first one. God of War, the original God of War, and Halo was the plan. I'm looking forward to that. But like, that's fine to do one day a week. No, you're not froze. I was looking at your camera there. You were just that still.
Was I? I was deep in
I
thought.
was like, oh shit, is he froze?
I was
No, it's just
aiming.
concentrating.
I was aiming.
I've really been enjoying your playthrough of Silent Hill 2. Do you think you'll finish that tomorrow night?
Of Silent Hill 2? I don't know. I don't know. How,
Yeah.
it depends on skill as well, I suppose.
Must
But,
be kick. Off with your head.
I think a community night would be good.
100%. What would you have in mind? Like off the top of your head, now if I had asked you for an answer, what do you think? Let me shoot this guy off this one.
A couple of games. I forget the name yet. There's a couple like Wordle games, and you knew that one that Lazy plays as well. If you ever go on the his streams, looks quite good.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I have to help this guy. I'm sitting shooting him. There's also Marbles on stream, which people love.
Yeah.
Jackbox games, exactly, Sierra. Waffles did a
Jackbox,
stream
yes.
a while back. The Jackbox, it was class.
Jesus.
What the fuck?
Right. Everything's gone to hell.
You don't... Sea Doodle VT, thank you very much for follow. Welcome on. How's it going?
We don't have time to deal with
Wait, I'm just going to run, Leyoric. I saw Waffle streaming it. It was fun. Oh, you were there. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. Even like Mrs. Hooke joined on that. She fucking loves.
It was good, correct.
Xbox. Oh shit! Get off me, you little jerk. These zombies are very nimble.
They're very aggressive, and I don't appreciate their attitudes.
Like, why do zombies have to be angry? She was great. To be fair, like, don't tell her is it, like, but Mrs. Hook's wild funny. Leora can back me up. She has wild funny. Her
Funnier than
dry,
you, yeah.
sarcastic sense of humor. No. She learns all her stuff from me. That's why she's funny.
Oh, that boy's a
What the
gun.
fuck? He does. Can I have it?
Can we
He's dead.
get the gun? No.
I wonder.
I think we just run, man.
Yep. That's awesome.
We just fall over bodies. Yes.
Nice. Need your help to push this box when you get a second.
I haven't got up the ladder yet.
No, that's... You're right. Oh, ads are running, folks. I didn't even notice. I'll just play on.
They're gonna be all over us with that alarm going off.
Only if we wait here. Come on.
Oh, right. We have to go this way. Oops.
Oh, up there, that way, right. Okay, we're both just kind of running at it.
Just running on the barricade. That'd be something, definitely, community, that'd be class. We should definitely organise something soon. Jesus, that ambulance just missed you.
I was going to hit me, and then I thought, no.
Watch yous. It'd be good to watch yous do stuff like that too.
If you keep indoors as much as possible.
Yeah, no shit.
Catch our breath.
Didn't you hear me say we have to hurry?
Yeah, no, Leon.
Hey,
Leon!
giving me sass. Love how you have a shotgun and I don't. Not fair.
Yeah, well, you don't deserve it.
That guy just drank himself to death. Not a bad way to go. I can find a shotgun. Right, okay. Hopefully so. One thing I always annoyed was the fact that it's mechanically a different Leon in each... What? No way. Seriously. Is each Resi like a standalone story? Is that why there's like 4 or 5 Raccoon cities?
I think so. It's the same. It's loop
Aye.
theory, you see, because the timeline keeps repeating itself over and over again.
So has Leon got the dooms? Is that
Oh.
what's wrong?
This guy has a gun. I don't know what gun he has, but that guy has a gun.
Where?
He's not even here, guys. Ah. Where's he going that is
sake.
more important?
I know,
Oh,
what a prick.
what?
Okay, this looks a bit sus. They're gonna come alive, aren't they?
I love I started Raccoon City 2 as a joke, and we all, oh yeah, of course. Because it annoys him. That's why. Same
He's
with the
not here, so
pineapple
he can't
thing.
listen.
He had pineapples once on stream, and I've run with it.
Locked.
You shouldn't run my pineapple. Not a good idea.
We
Actually,
just
Nikki-
both kicked the guy.
Thought the key was here. No, that looks like
It
cocaine or
is.
something.
It's
Oh, it's
here.
on the body. Oh,
You
my
are
arm's
way
gone through
on my
your-
arse.
Yeah, that's like clipping through you there.
Sexy times. We also call him Mr. X the
Yeah,
Tin Man.
I can't see. I'm inside your head.
That's so weird.
Oh, you dick. Off with your hood. I'll take the ammo. Thank you very much. I'm also
Blanche,
calling
what's
Mr.
happening?
X.
Leo and Hooke.
Blanche, what is happening, dude? I'm also
There's
calling
shotgun.
Mr. X the Tin Man. Yeah.
That guy's
Oh,
shotgun.
Do. What a time to be alive. Sierra, you were right.
Blanche, what is the story? How are you getting on?
I know. Welcome in, buddy.
Oh,
Good
what's
to see
this? This isn't a normal zombie.
Nope. Looks bigger.
He looks like a bit of a tyrant to
shit.
me. Oh no, it's just
Does
like
a
a
bit.
screamer.
Ah. Right. You know what this reminds me of? I thought it earlier on. I couldn't remember what the game was. Left 4 Dead.
Just got my ass
You got-
whooped in Magic the Gathering.
Did you get him?
Nope, I did not.
Okay. Got him.
Got him. Nice one. Oh fuck!
What the fuck was
Oh
that?
no, he's still screaming.
He's not dead. Jesus. We dropped something big. What's that?
Yeah,
Skill points,
it's
1,000?
for skill points.
A remote bomb. Nice. We got a remote
We
bomb.
can go up. There's stairs here as well. We have to go up.
Door's locked.
Right, okay. That's locked on now.
Is there any way to get over the gate?
Nope. Ammo. Take that ammo. Thank you very much. Right, fuck that zombie. I'm just going up the stairs. Look out for chests. They have big skill point things like that. Then. Oh, okay.
Oh, you're going to launch me over?
Okay. Oop.
Oh, this is like Resi 5. Can we wrap up
That is
with
a
the
bit there.
liquors?
Yeah. Oh, so you can now push that by yourself, whereas you couldn't last time. That makes sense.
I've got stronger. I got some Chris steroids in me. Right, I think you can make it over here now, and I can open this door for you.
Okay. I'm in.
Leon, it's open.
I know, Leon. It's open.
They're behind us.
Sadly, we won't
Go,
be
go,
punching any
go.
boulders. We won't be, no. Hypocrite. Hypocrite!
Let me get my shotgun. Shit, there's a whole heap of them coming here. Oh. I like the UI in this game, you know.
So do I. It's quite good, isn't it? It's unique.
Genuinely, it's very good. Right, I'm here now.
Very quick. Yeah, it is.
Well, we're not punching
it's-
boulders because we're not Chris. Of course.
I like the fact that it's left, right for your weapons, up, down for your
Survivors, come on.
consumables.
We have to help them.
Yeah, it's very intuitive.
All right.
God, camel freaks! Where the hell are they coming from? First day at the top and already I'm in a shootout.
Oh, it sounds like Leon.
Peter, don't leave me. Ah, bollocks.
Oh, it's one of them.
Guys. There's he.
My God, Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
Reloading. Shit. That hurts when he does that.
Fuck,
Whoa.
that hit me.
That kill us.
It hit me,
I'm
at least.
down. I need help. Oh shit,
I'm
you're
down
down too.
too.
We're dead. Yeah, we're dead. Holy shit.
There, we're back up.
Wait, I just got back up. Right, okay.
Someone shoot the gas! We can blow these things to Kingdom Come!
Hold on, I need to get help. Don't shoot the gas.
There's zombies. There's zombies shitting on the stand beside them. There we go. Boom.
Oh, boom!
Hey, come on! It's safer here!
Ah, we've actually found survivors. Nice one.
They aren't there. We'll probably find more people there too.
Need help.
What do you think?
I don't see any other
Have we look around before we go?
Over it.
Just in case. There's some stuff dropped as well.
Is there? Right, okay. Is everything dead?
No, there's like one or two floating about.
Oh, I do see a herb. Nice. And another one. Nice.
You sorted? Let's
Yeah, I'm
go.
good.
I
Let's
think there's a big
have a
skill point thing floating about if you hadn't already picked. Yeah, I did pick it up. It was
Yeah.
when the screamer thing
Yeah.
died.
Aye, right beside it. Thank you,
I
though.
got it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, Flemish says you get to use
Sierra,
them in between
I like
chapters.
I like Sierra. Sierra comes on, she's helpful. Where Flemish is like, I hate this.
See, Flemish just holds her down. Like that's what it does. Look, you know.
Flemish what? Exactly. He holds you down. You're a peacock, Sierra. Sierra. He doesn't. He should let you fly.
Come on, man! Open up!
Item slot.
Oh, look at all these weapons that we can't use.
Can't use my health again for some reason.
Exterminators?
Oh, you had to send it. Ah, never mind. That's it. No matter what, I hold you back, you know? Like you're on here being so helpful and nice. You know?
Oh, there's loads of ammo about though.
Well, that's good.
We all know
Just hit him
in
up here.
horror games that's a good sign when there's ammo.
Yeah. Means there's a big encounter coming up.
Yeah.
I am loving the fact that the fucking reticle isn't centered.
I think
I
there's
know
a
it's
thread
such
to it
small.
in case you get shouted at for spoilers.
That's his favourite game, so that's fair enough.
He is a wild man without spoilers though, isn't he?
He is. Can't help himself. Wild funny. It was all, I don't want to spoil anything for you. And then like two messages later, tells you something, he's like, but it's not a spoiler.
Failed to join player's game. What's this? What is that? What was that? Just popped up?
No idea.
Did you see it?
I did see it,
Did Seer fail to join player's game? Somebody try and join your game.
Didn't spoil anything. He's back. Shh.
Sometimes it was the other side. No, we're both still here, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're both still on. Yeah, I can see him right beside me.
I would have to reload. We had that way Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, every 3 hours it would shit itself.
It would get there like the 3 hour mark and then kick us out.
What's the matter with you? She's your girlfriend, isn't she?
Wait, is she talking about me and you?
I don't know. There's an upstairs in this place too. I'm gonna go see what it's about.
Player is joining as a creature. What does that mean?
Left my mark. Seer left my mark.
There's a player
Okay.
joining as a creature. Is this like an online component? Oh, there's someone outside. It's a player,
Oh.
man.
As a creature, so they're fighting against us?
Yep, looks like it.
Right, so I'm assuming that's something I can turn off in the menu for next time. You got that too?
Do you see them running about outside?
No, I haven't seen him yet, no. I'm assuming creatures can pick up guns, so he's probably going to find a gun, isn't he?
Look at zombies! It's zombies.
Blanche, how's things, man?
Shit, my gun's jammed.
Give it to
There's
me,
a
I'll use
minion
it.
behind you, kid. I suppose it.
Oh, fuck.
What?
He is above a thick, isn't he?
You idiots can fight
Huh.
out if you want.
I don't spoil anything. May arse. May arse.
Sure. I am very shiny. My forehead is wild shiny, isn't it? I'm just looking at it in the camera.
which is
I
weird
thought the
because
sun
I'm
came
the
off
bald
too.
one.
I know why. And like it makes me look sweaty, but I'm not even sweating. Nice and chilled actually.
I talk about things. I don't spoil things. That's the definition of spoiling them.
Did you jump out the window?
No, stay back.
What?
Get the hell away from me.
Did you jump out the window? No.
No.
No. Right. Okay.
I heard you were dead. You say Hooke was dead. He couldn't hack it. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was rough.
That's a fun thing.
This wee room, Blanche, yesterday was 30 degrees, which was rough. Whereas today it's fine. I think still alive. I think it's dead.
Is it? Oh, that it is.
Nice. It's only going to get worse. Oh, it's worse for you over in the UK.
Sammy!
England.
Welcome on. Right, lads, I'm going to attempt to get some sleep. I have a good sleep, buddy.
Sammy, good to see you, dude. Chilling out in the garden. It's lovely out tonight. Love it. We did that last night.
Anybody know phone Sammy Dabby do, please do so.
Akira, all the best, dude. Just seen your message here. Thank you very much for hanging out, man.
The time being, store's clear. Want to let us in now?
Go, go, go.
Go, 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 go.
After all that time, did you not have put them shutters down before? What? Oh, it's Clint Eastwood. Go, go, go.
At Backlash?
At Backlash.
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 At Backlash.
I got some folks coming for me in a bus.
At Backlash.
Any minute now. If we can make it on board.
At Backlash.
Cathedral. People are evacuating there.
Backlash.
But that's a big if. It's a shitstorm out there. We ain't waiting for any
Backlash.
stragglers.
At Backlash.
Right.
At
sweet.
Backlash.
Japanese dude, get the shutter.
Backlash.
Yo, Japanese dude.
Backlash.
Stairs today.
That's shutters.
So is shutters downstairs around all the windows? Why not upstairs? Upside.
Are we supposed to press a button or something?
We can get out the window. Okay.
Their eyes are red?
Not sure we'd
Where,
want
where
to.
did this come from?
Jesus Christ, happy Irishman. You're the shit out of me.
What's wrong? Oh, alright.
Jump
Scared
scare.
you. Scared you.
shit. It's quite nothing in RKO. Love it. This is chaos. Oh Jesus, there's one of those big things in here beside us. What the fuck happened there?
Oh, gotcha. He got me.
That experience.
I think there's too many NPCs in this wee tiny room.
It's a bit mad, isn't it?
It's a bit tactic, like it's fun, but it's mental.
Ah, it's fun. Yeah.
I keep thinking that one of my mates is beside me. What the fuck?
The fuck happened there?
I keep thinking one of my mates is beside me and then just it turned out to be a zombie. I'm like, ah, crap.
I was just shooting willy-nilly, I didn't care. I need health, like I am one shot from death.
I might
I have
have
no
health.
herbs.
I might have health, but
Oh, no,
I
hold
don't
on, I
know
have a
how to
spray.
use it on someone else.
I have a spray. Where are you? There we go.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot how to spray.
Oh,
Whoa.
what the hell?
No.
They
Nail
come
him.
in extra large now.
We stand out here. I wonder if we can shoot his legs. You dead? Nice. Go, go,
We're doing
go.
alright, you know. Right, I
Yeah.
need the help here.
I'll do
Pup
this.
needs a W. Thank you both for the stream. Not a problem, Sarah. Thank you very much for coming on.
Sarah,
Appreciate
thank you very much. Look after yourself.
Streaking!
Enjoy your walk.
Free stream streak as well, Sammy.
Gymnasium! Come on, everybody!
Sammy, good to see you. What a legend. Enjoy, Sammy.
Right, what am I doing here?
I'm quite hungry, actually. Let's get something to eat. After
Maybe
this.
turn into a zombie.
Maybe. Eat your brains.
What about brains? If I were offer you brains, would you?
Depends.
go for
Is
it,
it
like?
seasoned?
Aye, put a salt on it, like, put a salt and pepper.
Yeah, maybe.
Hold on! I'm gonna pull you up!
Oh shit, there's another one of those big guys.
Oh, big house.
Yep. And a screecher guy. What the fuck? I think he's dead. Nope. Ammo. It doesn't help.
Seem to go down a bit quicker.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it, like. Nice.
Oh, crap.
Right behind me. What the fuck?
Oh,
There we
there's the
go, there's
boss.
Good try,
Still got neck pain, used the massage gun. Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh man, that is rough.
I hope you feel better soon.
Right. Where to now? Oh, this way.
Right, we gotta go. Gotta go.
Go. Don't fall down the sewer. Nice. We are blitzing through this. I reckon 2 streams will have Leon's campaign done, huh?
I'd say I don't know how far under it we are.
Well, there's that too, like, but it feels like we've made loads of progress. Oh shit.
Oh, is he dead?
I think so, very. Ow. It's got spat on. Do we have to help him? I think we were meant to help him, were we?
Oh.
No, never mind, he's dead. He's dead. There we go. Nicely job.
Go.
Oh.
Okay, that was a bit brutal.
That is gruesome. I like it.
Talk about a bus pass. Ooh,
There we go, into chapter 1. Look at that. Beautiful.
look at that. Look at all points.
So then now we get to spend our skill stuff.
Rank A.
Take your time, an hour and 44
Nice one.
minutes. Alright, so let's see. So if we click OK, does it auto continue? Oh,
can
no,
now
we can
purchase
click
skills.
There we go. Okay.
Ooh, right, okay. Oh, there's loads.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But I only have 12,000. Right, okay.
Oh, I have to like equip this. Ah, okay. Melee and firearm kind of makes sense. But yeah, cost. So I'm gonna have 1350.
Removes your targeting sight but increases your fire power.
Helping you. Well, keeps your partner from helping you when you're in single player only. Oh, okay. And there's more to unlock as well. Okay. That's pretty cool. Right, I can only really afford one.
Can you?
Yeah. I've only 1350 left. And I bought firearm level 1.
Ah, right, okay, that's what it was then.
Yeah, I blew my load straight away. It's my own fault. Which was 29,000. Oh no, level 2 is 29,000. Ah, that's okay though. Stronger firearm, I'll take that. Right. Cool.
There we go.
Right. I don't know if this is frozen or it's waiting on you to be finished. Must be waiting on you.
Oh, you're waiting on me,
Doesn't tell me
probably.
though. That's fine. Oh. Half tablets. No, never got to read it. The fucking SSD was too quick. God damn it.
That's what I was saying,
Modern
didn't it?
problems.
SSD, that's what the problem is.
Oh, you got a bot. Good job, sorry, bud.
B.O.W.s has been infected with the virus. That rounds out to about 70,000 hostile
90% of the people.
Also,
Jesus.
word that an organization named Neo Umbrella just claimed responsibility for the
Umbrella.
I know what
Neo.
you're thinking.
Whisker.
Yeah.
Who's at the front door?
That's all the news I've got. Now it's
You're
your
all banging.
turn to help me. I need to know what's in that cathedral. I've got
So your earbuds are fine now,
on my neck for
by the way.
Suits.
That you've been using. The earbuds
Yeah,
that you're
perfect.
using, they've been fine.
Derek
Oh,
C.
has to be so.
National Security
You're right.
Advisor.
That guy looks evil.
Hang on.
I was about to say, what if you ran over someone who wasn't a zombie? But he was clearly a zombie, so it's fine. Also, why would you run him over?
Oh, my two just messing about upstairs.
Oh, you're right. No worries. You crashed our bus.
Did we crash? Of course we did. It'd be too easy if we just got away with it.
Son of a... Get off me! Oh, shit!
Oh shit. Finally.
I know.
That seemed like a timed event.
We bit, yeah.
What the feck? Who rammed us off the cliff?
You know, Ulster bus is exactly like this, you know.
Wait.
Just the way the bus goes.
Just the quality of the driving.
Yep.
Although there's our electric now. You know?
Head in the bed.
lads.
Great stream. Latency, thank you so much.
It's Cloud. Get it right, would you? Would you stop misidentifying that man?
No. No.
Good night, sir.
They escaped the infection. Only to die like this.
Oh, they all died. Critters.
There's no time.
Thanks for the help.
We have to get to the cathedral.
It's very full on action. It gives you no breaks. Like, it's good.
Yeah. Relentless.
It isn't a Resident Evil style of game. If you know what I mean. You know,
No.
you have your off and on.
It's very action.
Yeah. For whatever reason, we're still alive.
We're cutting through the cemetery to reach
course
the
we are.
cathedral.
It's fucking cool looking though.
That is, I didn't know how it would play, you know, with the... He dead.
Oh shit. Some down here with me.
There is too.
Oh,
I am
that's your
low
hand.
on ammo.
Can I give you ammo? Let's see. No. Not that I can see anyway.
It's alright, it's grand. I doubt these guys are going to drop any because like their corpses have been here years. Why would they have ammo?
True. Which begs the question, their corpses have been here years, why are they now reviving from the dead?
Well, do you remember The Walking Dead? Its
Aye, but
theory
The
on
Walking Dead only
its
impacted
theory on the
people
dead
that-
was
If he died,
or Night of the Living Dead. Sorry,
once- I was going to say The Walking Dead, that doesn't work. Right,
No.
okay.
well, The
Fair
Walking
enough,
Dead is
Night of the
everybody's
Living Dead,
infected.
Yeah. I'm just running past these people, by the way. Are you behind me? Nope.
I am stuck in quick time events. Ah, and I fell down a hole. Shit. Did you just run on? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm just running past them. Back. Not going to waste ammo, etc. on them. I'm just running.
Yeah, fair play.
lighthouse. Fucking birds. This isn't where we're meant to go, I don't think, but... Pick it.
Yeah, we'll see if there's...
I had the same idea.
Yeah!
I can smash the jar. Oh, grenade.
Oh, we've been followed.
Oh, shit.
Oh no, they do drop ammo apparently, even though it doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
nice. Oh, there's a door here. Shit. Right. There's a wee door here. Oh.
Teamwork.
Nice. Good night, Hooke. John, look after yourself, dude. Good night. Thank you very much.
John
for
Rambo,
coming on,
you have a good night, buddy.
We'll be wrapping up soon enough anyway, ourselves.
Right enough, I didn't realise it was so late.
Yeah. It's up to yourself, whatever time you want to go to, man.
No, we'll wrap up now. Good. Oh,
Oh,
fuck.
shit.
That dog.
I bet that dog. Aye, we can wrap it up now. Like, I don't mind. That's alright, because we can pick someone to read out and chat them for a wee bit. Like.
Yeah, sounds good. Can we... Well, let's just save where we started. Even, to be fair, we've
Yeah,
just
it has
started
autosave.
this chapter, so...
I don't know, it might put you to the start of the chapter, which isn't that far back.
We're near enough there anyway, like, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it'll take us back to probably where we got off that bus explosion, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And we got a checkpoint when we come into this room, so if it saves here, then we're laughing.
Aye,
as well.
we're happy days, sir.
Right, so if I...
I have a raid target in mind,
Right, hold on, let me
if you
get
don't
out of the
mind,
game
or
here. No,
what
no,
are you
no.
thinking?
You never steer me wrong. Right, so it's saving.
So-
I just want to make sure this is saves before I quit.
It's a cool character, right? His name is High Scores, High Stakes.
Oh, it's Tomahawk live. Right.
Tomahawk is live playing on
That works for me.
DVD.
Right, give me a second there to get it up.
Hey, get it up.
Never usually have that problem. You would be fine. Let's see. Score high stakes. Right, are you doing your mini game there first?
I'll go over to my screen first.
Go for it. Great
Make
stream,
sure
lads.
yours.
Until next time, McKenz. We
Hey,
will be
thank
back
you.
this day next week as well.
Thank you. Everybody came on. Thanks for all the raids, you absolute legends. I am going to pop in a wee
that was
raid
a good
message just to see if he's beat the boss. I
Yes,
don't know.
me
I
too.
wasn't keeping track to see if he's actually did beat the boss.
Thank you, Terry. Much appreciated.
Hook is actually covering the boss. Hook is the boss. He didn't beat it. He didn't beat it. He didn't beat it. It's all good.
Fix it. Fixed.
I am going to start my raid, and I am going to copy my message.
too.
I will be back tomorrow night with more Silent Hill 2, the squelchiest of games.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it because I'm actually really enjoying it.
Folks, thank you so much for tonight. I really do appreciate it. These are all really nice. And I really enjoyed that, Leyoric, so thank you. as
So
well.
did I. It was a lot of fun.
Same day next week?
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yes, of course. I get that
Oh.
reference.
I'll see you soon,
Right.
folks. See you later.
All the best, folks. See
Bye.
you later. Bye.